Morning, councillors, staff. Welcome to our general meeting for the month of July, and I'd like to declare the meeting open now at 9 a.m. And I would like to welcome all, or say hello to all the people that have taken the time out of their day to have a look at our live stream. And we'll now ask for the leave of absence or apologies, and I believe we have an apology, Mr. CEO.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor, Acting Mayor. We have an apology from the Mayor through illness, so we'll need to accept the Mayor's absence, please.
So would someone like to move? Councillor Hanchin, someone second. Councillor Duff, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Any other apologies, leave of absence? I don't believe we do. Everyone else seems to be here. So we'll now ask Pastor Lyle Slinger to come forward from the Kingrow District Ministers Association to make comment and lead us in prayer. Thank you.
I acknowledge obviously the Deputy Mayor, but he's Acting Mayor today, so Gavin Jones and councillors and other staff. And there's nobody in the gallery today, so the place looks bare, but anyways. I'm Pastor Lyle Slinger from Church in the Marketplace, and on the way out of Kingrow as you go out towards Cumbria. And but firstly today, I've got some good news. I'm the proud grand-uncle of Kylie McKeon, who won the 100 metres backstroke. So, yeah. And actually her grandparents live in Kingrow too, so Kingrow is on the map. So there you go. Good news, isn't it? So apart from that, I'm a pastor, but I'm also a businessman, growing and exporting drugs. You know, depose your leaf. So I have a foot in both camps, and you know, and I'm very interested in the welfare of our South Burnett region and Kingrow and all these areas. I want to congratulate council on their endeavours on enhancing the atmosphere of our town. It looks absolutely great, and you know, just recently, my wife and I travelled through much of Queensland, and you go through all these little towns, and you see the ones where they've done something. The town has something at heart, and you drive through and you just want to stop there for a cuppa. You drive through other towns and it's just nothing, you know. So awesome what you're doing. It's going to make a big difference to our town and give it a real atmosphere. So thank you for doing that. End of the day, though, I believe that we and the churches and you guys are all on the same page. We care about our community and people's lives, and that is to see our community having good values, where people want to come. Why? Because the word is out that Kingrow is a good place and people want to come and live here. And over the years, even in our church, we've seen many people coming from the coast, retiring here because they want to be here. So let's keep up the good work. And but we as a church honour you and respect your role of local government in the greater South Burnett area. And we do as a church pray often for our mayor, deputy mayor, councillors and all the workers and the council staff, because we believe that's so important to do that. And especially the council staff who keep all those roads clean and tidy and get their hands dirty. It's really good. There's a verse in the Bible that says, if any of you lacks wisdom, you should ask God, who gives generously to all. And in this hour, I believe you certainly need God's wisdom to be able to know what is best for our region and the courage to carry it out. Secondly, we are reminded in the Bible that prayers and giving of thanks be made for all men, for kings and all who are in authority, that we, the community, may lead a quiet and peaceable life in all godliness and reverence. Meaning, as we pray for those in authority, which in this case is their local council, then we, the residents of the South Burnett, will be living in a region of peace and tranquility. So it all comes back on you guys, doesn't it? So this morning, I just want to pray God's blessing over this council meeting and all the administrative staff and council workforce. So let's pray. Father God, I pray in Jesus' name that your blessing and favour and wisdom will be upon our mayor, Lord, deputy mayor and this team of councillors as I grapple with making the right decisions in regard to the South Burnett region. I pray that they will provide good governance for this South Burnett region and that this region will prosper, know favour and further develop under their hand of leadership. I also pray for all the administrative staff and the council workforce. We pray especially for safety for the workforce as they are out and about on roads carrying out various activities. I ask your blessing today over these council proceedings, that things will just flow and decisions will be made that enhance the South Burnett as a great place to live, work and play. We ask this in the name of Jesus. Amen. So God bless you all and thank you for allowing us to come and be here, Deputy Mayor. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Pastor. That's great knowledge to know that Kaylee McHugh and also Taliqua Clancy. So the South Burnett is starting to produce Olympians, and it's fantastic. Yeah. Thank you very much. Quite welcome to stay. You'll be a busy man, no doubt. So. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Pastor. Okay, we'll move now to Councillor Duff for the recognition of the traditional owners.
Thank you. I'd like to acknowledge country and the traditional owners of the land where we meet this morning, the Waka Waka land, and acknowledge the elders both past, present and emerging. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Declaration of interests, Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I, Councillor Shoemaker, inform this meeting I have a declarable conflict of interest in relation to item 18.3, management of Kingrow, Wandai and Mergen swimming pools. The nature of my interest arises because my sister-in-law and business partner work as a swimming instructor for one of the tenderers. I propose to leave and stay away from the place where the meeting's being held while this matter is discussed and voted on. Thank you.
Acting Mayor, this is for myself. There's a matter on the agenda at 14.1, which is the Kingrow Rotary Club donation. Whilst I hold no executive positions with the Rotary Club, I've been a member of Rotary for an extended period of time and generally personally feel uncomfortable in dealing with issues associated with the club because of my close links. So for that, whilst I had no preparation or authority in the preparation of the report, and whilst I hold no decision making, it's for my own peace of mind. I generally step out for those ones. So for that one, I'll voluntarily leave the meeting. And if General Manager O'May has been delegated in the past to deal with all things Rotary, so that I can keep arm's distance, so he'll deal with it in my absence.
Thanks, Mr. CEO. Any other declarations of interest? Okay. Councillors and staff, I'd just like to acknowledge the arrival of our Kingrow State School children up the back, accompanied by Miss Julie Matheson and Miss Marianne Fisher. They're coming today to have a look at how local government operates, and they're studying democracy and whatnot at their school this year or this term. So hopefully we can deliver a very good example today. So welcome to everybody from Kingrow State School and the two staff members responsible. Thank you. We'll catch up at morning tea at 10:30 and have a chat and ask any questions you want. And I'm sure these councillors here will be more than happy to answer it at the best of their knowledge. Okay, so we'll now move on to deputations and petitions. Doesn't look like we have any of those. So we'll move on now to item 7.1, the minutes of the council meeting held on the 30th of June 2021. The officer's recommendation that the minutes of the council meeting held on the 30th of June 2021, thanks Trace, be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconder, Councillor Henshin. Any questions, comments in regards to that before we go to the vote? All good? All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Item 7.2, minutes of the special council meeting held on the 14th of July 2021. Officer's recommendation that the minutes of the special council meeting held on the 14th of July 2021 be received and the recommendations therein be adopted. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Froloff, questions, comments? All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Items 8, business outstanding, 8.1 on the agenda, business outstanding table for ordinary council meeting. The officer's recommendation that the business outstanding table for the ordinary council meeting be received for information only. Do I have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Froloff, comments, questions? Okay, go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Now, Trace. Item 9, portfolio report, corporate services, people and culture, communications, media, finance and ICT. The 9.1 video footage of budget committee meetings. The officer's recommendation that the video footage of budget committee's report be received for information only. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Shoemaker, seconder. Councillor Potter. Any questions, comments in regards to that?
Acting Mayor, if I may, just the report's pretty self-explanatory. I really do appreciate the council raising it at the last committee meeting. We did have, just for extra clarification, there was a little bit of an issue with the first time we had done these committees about how to process it. Got a actually fairly good system in place, and we'll talk about it. So if council goes down this path again for the next 12 months, this is a one-off occasion where they weren't posted this year, and where we go forward will be pretty much standard business. So thanks again for raising it.
Okay, so we'll go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.2, South Burnett Regional Council Debt Policy. Officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Debt Policy 2021-22 report be received for information only. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconder. Councillor Henson. Questions, comments? All good? Okay, go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.3. Adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Advertising Spending Policy, Statutory 047. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Advertising Spending Policy, Statutory 047, be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Froloff. Questions, comments in regards to the advertising policy? Okay, go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.4, adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Community Grants Program Policies, Strategic 005. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Community Grants Program Policy, Strategic 005, be adopted as presented. Do I have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Potter. Questions, comments? Okay, we'll go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.5. Adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Contact with a Lobbyist Policy, Statutory 049. Officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Contact with a Lobbyist Policy, Statutory 049, be adopted as presented. We'll have a mover. Councillor Froloff, seconder. Councillor Henson. Questions, comments? Okay, we'll go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.6, adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Community Reference Group Terms of Reference, Strategic 010. Officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Community Reference Group Terms of Reference, Strategic 010, be adopted as presented. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Shoemaker. Questions, comments? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I just had a question through you, Deputy Mayor, for CEO Mark. Just wanted to clarify, it says the committee, point number 3, general information, third point down, the committee and members are not to engage in public consultation or engagement activities without the express authorisation of the project sponsor or council CEO. Just wanted to understand that better because, you know, I'm in the street every day. I have conversations about this project every single day. And I'm not sure I can actually ask or get permission every time I talk about the project. So I wanted to know what relevance that is and how that might impact.
Thanks, Councillor. Excellent. Good question. As far as the view, and particularly now being rolling across into the chair of the committee, for the formal engagement processes, the council resolves. So I'll throw over to General Manager Meehan as well. But my take has been casual conversation, the engagement on some of the social media posts, and and things, but specifically that has been, in my mind, targeted to the formal engagement processes that we undertake. But General Manager Meehan as well.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor. So that was in the original ones as well. So the purpose of that is that we have obviously the communication strategy through the CCRG. Councillors, what the intent of that is that councillors don't go and run a concurrent or one which is contrary to what the project team has agreed to do through the CCRG. So you don't need, so in your role as divisional councillor, you're quite right to go through and talk to the businesses in accordance with what's been agreed with myself as the project sponsor or with the CEO. It's obviously can't go out there and give contrary or advice or run parallel programs. Same as any project. So the purpose of that is that if we are running a community engagement strategy, that we stay within what's agreed at the CCRG or through the council's policies, so that we're consistent. So that's the intent. So we're not giving mixed messages to the community on behalf of the project. So
Yes, thank you. Now I understand that and fully agree, particularly if we've got a structured engagement process, which I know we're working through at the moment. It's very important that we are giving the community the right information at the right time, and that it aligns with Council's communication strategy, and particularly our funding partners' desired outcomes of the project. So no, thank you. Appreciate the clarification. Happy with the policy.
Thanks, councillor. And yeah, as the CEO acknowledged, a very good question and well explained. And yes, it's critical that we send out the correct information so the people of the community understand fully what's going on. Okay, we have a seconder and a mover. The adoption of the South Burnett Regional... adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Community Reference Group Terms of Reference, Strategic 010, has been moved by Councillor Potter and seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, and that the South Burnett Regional Council Community Reference Group Terms of Reference, Strategic 010, be adopted as presented. We'll go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.7. The adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Employee Conflict of Interests Policy, Statutory 048. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Employee Conflict of Interest Policy, Statutory 048, be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Henson, comments or questions in regards to that policy? Okay, no comment. Go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Just for the benefit of the young children down the back and the teachers, these are all policies that we've discussed in workshops prior to today, and we've had conversation, all that sort of stuff. The councillors have an opportunity to raise questions or make comment around any policy before we go to the vote. So that's why we're moving through pretty quickly at this stage. So it's all good. Okay, 9.8 on the agenda is adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Expenses Reimbursement for Councillors Policy, Statutory 002. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Expenses Reimbursement for Councillors Policy, Statutory 002, be adopted as presented. Do we have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, seconder. Councillor Potter. Comments, questions? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd just like to move an amendment that in the section on the travel that we make a limit of 10,000 kilometres as claimable. I'd like to add that as an amendment to the policy.
So with a limit of 10,000 kilometres to be claimed by any councillor at the current rate that the councillors are entitled to at 72 cents a kilometre would equate to $7,200 a year. As the mover, Councillor Fryloff, are you happy for that, or you... you've moved the motion, but councillor Duff's moved an amendment. Are you happy? We've got that. Councillor, oh, sorry, we need my apologies, Mr CEO. We need a seconder. Councillor Duff has moved that the motion be amended and with the policy presented to limit the change to limit the claimable kilometres per year per councillor is capped at 10,000 kilometres. Do we have a seconder for that? Councillor Shoemaker. Just wait for Trace to put this up. I'll read out the full amendment change and then we'll go to the floor.
So it would be, Acting Mayor, it'll be the South Burnett Regional Council's expense reimbursement for council's policy, Statutory 002, be adopted as amended, and then dot point, section, whichever it is, travel. It would be vehicle fuel and operational costs. You right? Yep. Yeah, and then just oh, that's annoying. And Mr. Acting Mayor, and councillors, this is part of our, actually just for explanation to the students in the gallery as well. So we always learn as well. So we're actually doing a training and teaching of the agenda software today as well. So one of the things that we do within the organisation is train other people to do other people's jobs. So if people are away for any period of time, that someone else is as a backup or a reserve. So yeah, so we're just a little bit slower than normal. No. Just delete it. Oops, not that. Yep. Okay, so an amendment. So a resolution or a motion is moved, a resolution is moved, and the amendment generally has to be consistent with the intent of the resolution. So if I moved a resolution that we were going to paint the school bright pink in honour of Councillor Duff, the Acting Mayor could move that an amendment that we paint the school bright blue, because that's still the intent of the resolution is to paint the school. I wouldn't be able to amend the resolution and say that we don't paint the school, because that would not be consistent with the intent of the motion. So the amendment has to have some sort of relevance and show the intent of the original motion. And also, when you're moving a resolution or a motion or adopting a motion, it generally should not be a negative motion, so that's saying that you can't do something. A resolution should always have a positive intent, the way it's written. Now, you do see them written where sometimes they are negative, but good form and good practice is always keep them in a positive intent. You're right to go, guys? Yep. So yeah. So the only thing, Trace, I would add to it is if I've got Councillor Duff is section vehicle fuel and operational costs. So that would be amended to section vehicle fuel and operational costs, and then we can fold it into there. Yep.
Okay, so we have an amendment to the resolution. And the amendment is that the South Burnett Regional Council expenses reimbursement for councillors policy Statutory 002 be adopted as amended. A limit of 10,000 kilometres be claimable, section vehicle fuel and operational costs. So we'll go now to Councillor Duff as the mover of the resolution to speak on this amendment.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. Yeah, I just would like to have this amendment included. I know that a lot of the councillors now are not claiming any fuel at all. I know Councillor Shoemaker is not claiming, the Mayor does not claim and does not have a vehicle. I've just doing the same now. I felt that as we trying to make cuts in our budget, we've asked the staff to cut back on vehicles, and I decided to reimburse the council my claims of $12,000. And I know that Deputy Mayor Jones is talking about doing something similar. So the councillors are very keen to support cuts where we can, and I just think now, because we have pretty much all decided to make cuts, that we should reflect that in the policy, and in that way we can actually bring the amount that we need for this particular policy for reimbursement back in line with our cuts in our budget, so we can allow that that's all councillors can claim. So therefore we're going to have less money needed to be allocated for the actual reimbursement part of this particular policy. So that's why I'm keen to see this happen, to have the support of the council, hopefully, to cut back on what we claim for fuel. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. I'll now go to the floor. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. I agree with applying a limit to the policy. I'm just not sure. I'm mindful of my fellow colleagues like Councillor Henshin and yourself, who travel enormous kilometres every week just to come to council meetings alone. So whilst I agree with the amendment, I'm wondering if the 10,000 kilometre limit is actually going to be at detriment to some of my fellow councillors who drive further kilometres, and wondering if we need to actually consider, being that so many councillors aren't claiming enormous kilometres anyway, wondering if we need to consider increasing that limit, and what limit would actually be relevant that would still cover the day-to-day operational needs of my fellow councillors. So I'm probably just keen to hear from the chamber in that regard. I'm thinking a limit is a good idea, because then it gives us all a confined, it gives us a clear understanding. I just wanting to make sure that limit is reflective of actually what we need to conduct the business of council and support our community. So I'm keen to hear from my other colleagues in terms of what that limit should be.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Henshin.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones, Acting Mayor. Yeah, look, I struggle with this, and I know, Councillor Duff, you've made a comment before that your weekly kilometres is somewhere around 1,200 kilometres a week. Mine are very similar to that in the area that we cover in Divisions 5 and 6. It's Council's own responsibility, and we've run logbooks. Each of us has run logbooks for quite some time now. And it's our own onus is on us as to what we claim at 72 cents a kilometre. Now, in putting a limit of 10,000 kilometres, that's not even 10 weeks of travel. And I feel that in time, it has the potential to limit councillors to travel. They will see 10,000 kilometres. We all run our own cars. We all pay our own maintenance on our own cars. To limit this to 10,000 kilometres, which equates to $7,200 per year, I'm sorry, but as councillors, when we don't get supplied council cars and no one asks for council cars, I think that in itself is a major saving to council in running our own vehicles. Now, I myself do not claim for a huge amount of miles that I do. And I can understand and appreciate our other councillors that have divisions that are more close-knit, and the mileage that they do is completely different to ours. But 10,000 kilometres, honestly, that's not even 10 weeks of being a councillor travelling our South Burnett region. And it's not just our region, our divisions that we travel. With our portfolios, we're expected or asked or required to go to the likes of Blackbutt or go to the likes of Proston or go to Nanango or go to Mergen for different things. It's not just in our division. So, no, I'm comfortable where the policies sits previous to this amendment, and it's councillors' discretion as to whether they put their logbooks in and apply for the kilometres that they travel. But I'm certainly not in favour of limiting to 10,000 kilometres. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Anybody else? Councillor Potter?
Thank you, Acting Mayor, sorry. Look, I really don't think this needs to be changed at all, because we all, whether we claim kilometres or not, I think this should be put against ourselves. And if we feel that we don't need to claim, then we won't claim. So I really don't see a need for changing this at all. So that's just my view. And, you know, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Thanks, councillor Potter. Councillor Froloff?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I agree with Councillor Potter. I'm totally agreeable with this, what we have here on paper. We all have our own cars, like the perception outside that we get, as soon as you get into council, you get given a car. Well, that's not correct. And it is up to us to whether to claim for fuel or any of the expenses that we have. So I'm happy as is.
Thanks, councillor Froloff. Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, thank you. Certainly listening to the conversation and the views of the chamber, I've come to think I tend to agree it should be at the discretion of our councillors. We're all bound by the Local Government Act to serve our communities, and I know we all have the best interests of our community at heart. We've been through a very rigorous budget process, and it's clear from what I understand we haven't exceeded this year's budget for this allocation. If anything, a number of councillors have made the choice not to claim, and I certainly recognise that it should be up to each individual councillor's own judgment and certainly their own needs in serving their community. So I'm going to have to agree with my the feeling in the chamber that I'm happy to proceed without the limit to the claimable kilometres. That's my view at this point in time. Thank you.
Any other? Oh, can I speak before? I speak before. So just before we go to write a reply to Councillor Duff, my comments for Councillor Henson's benefit, and Councillor Duff is right. Councillor Henson was away with illness last week. I made a statement that I will be not claiming, and I believe that all the councillors never made claims to the last 6 or 8 weeks of last year. I've spoken to my own personal accountant, and I will be doing my travel allowances and expenses through my own personal stuff. And I totally disagree with putting a limit on it. I agree with the rest of the chamber, or a majority of the chamber, that we just leave it as it is. And Councillor Shoemaker's comments in regards to councillors, it's wholly and solely rests entirely with the individual councillor, whether they see fit to claim or whatnot. So I won't be supporting this amendment. So I'll go now to Councillor Duff to write a reply.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. You know, I'm really keen to support this because I think it gives us a clear direction with our budget. We can set a budget because we know that that's the limit for claims. If we just go, well, whatever, you can just claim whatever. We don't know from day to day whether the budget's going to be adequate, because we don't know if a councillor decides to claim more because they're doing a lot more travelling. I just think it's clear. It would give us an opportunity to actually make a saving in our budget, which we're desperately trying to do. And by just saying, well, just the gates are open, I'm just not comfortable with that. I'm just really keen to see that whether you put a limit of more, but just thinking that we need to have a limit, because it's otherwise it's very difficult to set the budget, and also to where there's an opportunity here to make a saving right here and now that we could spend on something else, or cut back our operating deficit by making that cut in our reimbursement policy. just really keen to see that happen. But yeah, just obviously have not got the support of the chamber. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Duff. So we've had the right of reply. We'll now go to the vote on the amendment and the... Get rid of that. Thank you. That the South Burnett Regional Council expenses reimbursement for councillors policy statutory 002 be adopted as amended, with the addition of limit of 10,000 kilometres be claimable, section vehicle fuel and operational costs. All those in favour? Councillor Duff in favour. All those against? Councillor Potter, Councillor Henson, Councillor Froloff, Shoemaker and Jones against. So the amended resolution has been defeated 5-1. We go back now to the original, Mr. So we now go back to the original motion that the South Burnett Regional Council expenses reimbursement for councillors policy statutory 002 be adopted as presented. That was moved by Councillor Froloff, seconded by Councillor Potter. Do we need to have any further comments, questions in regards to that? Councillor Shoemaker?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I've had a good look through the procedure. I hadn't seen it yet before, so the policy, it's great to see the procedure backing up the policy and its intent. Whilst I'm hearing some of the comments made, I don't agree that the gates are open. I do think that the procedure sets some pretty solid boundaries around the policy and its intentions. And in terms of the budget, I know when we unpack the budget, the budget allocation here is reasonable and it hasn't been exceeded, so I'm comfortable with that point. And I know we've got opportunity through our quarterly budget reviews and our financial reports to consistently keep an eye on all things across the operation. This is only one of many, many areas in which we need to lean in and have a look. I just had a question in terms of, there's a section in the procedure on page 168, the reasonable cost of professionally cleaning a councillor's vehicle will be considered upon application. For example, preparing a vehicle to transport a dignitary such as the Governor of Queensland. I wanted to better understand this because I think if anything, there's an opportunity to take that out. I don't understand why we would be cleaning vehicles when the Governor of Queensland drives his own vehicles. So probably just keen to understand that further.
Thanks, Councillor. Actually, and that's a real example of this council. So, and just if I may take the opportunity, since you've kindly gave me the leg in, the procedure will be finalised once the policy is adopted. So the procedure comes through the organisation. It was council resolution from way back, Councillor Duff, as you recall. So it's made its way through the sausage machine, to coin the phrase, but I was reluctant to finalise it until the policy was adopted, and then the procedure will be automatically adopted and circulated to ensure that it's consistent with the policy. So council, again, for the benefit of the gallery, the council set the strategic direction, the policy. The procedure will do nothing else except to support that direction. The opportunity, when that was utilised, the governor and some of the other dignitaries, premiers and different ones don't often, well, on occasions will not utilise their own vehicles, they'll fly in. So particularly when we had the mayor's vehicle, for example, it gave us a head of power. Well, we probably wasn't a procedure at that point in time, but it was, I suppose, a matter of business to ensure that the vehicles were detailed, so that when Premier, Governor or visiting dignitaries were transported around, that the vehicles were done. And it wasn't just a clean, it was a full detailing with a local business. So that's what's in there. Happy to drop it, well, happy either way, really. It's a council's direction, but it doesn't get utilised often, but it has been utilised in the past.
I'd actually probably like to see it taken out myself. I think we've got a fleet of council vehicles and a number of executive vehicles, and I trust that the organisation can certainly provide a suitable vehicle should the Premier or somebody come to visit. So yeah, I don't see the need of having that in the policy at this point in time myself.
That one's in the procedure. Yeah, okay, I'll certainly take the point. If No, not on the procedure. As I said, the procedure will, the policy's silent on it. It's been captured in the procedure because it has happened in the past. We'll deal with it at operational level. So certainly the procedure will be circulated once the policy is adopted. So I'll just tidy that up if council's good with that. Or if that's everyone's in agreement, I'll just tidy that up when we finalise the procedure.
Comfortable, councillor? Yep.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so again, the motion 9.8, adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council expenses reimbursement for councillors policy statutory 002. That the South Burnett Regional Council expenses reimbursement for councillors policy statutory 002 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Froloff, seconded by Councillor Potter. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Councillors Potter, Henson, Froloff, Shoemaker and Jones in favour. Those against? Councillor Duff. The resolution has been passed 5-1. Okay, 9.9, the adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Surveillance Camera Operations Policy, Statutory 051. So the recommendation, officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Surveillance Camera Operations Policy, Statutory 051 be adopted as presented. And again, this was presented at the Executive and Finance and Corporate Standing Committee meeting on the 21st of July 2021. One amendment was supported and has been actioned. So as with all the other previous policies, they were all presented at the 21st of July Standing Committee meeting. And we are here to endorse them here today in the general. So do we have a mover for the adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Surveillance Camera Operations Policy? Councillor Potter, second, Councillor Henson. Questions, comments, councillors in regards? Councillor Duff.
Just a question to General Manager Meehan. Just wondering, I know that through the Kingrow Transformation Project, we're putting in surveillance cameras, and I know that Mergen has them, Wandai has them, Nanango has them, and there was a move, and I'm getting pressure from the Mergen police that council will take over the ownership of all the cameras and then therefore the maintenance of the cameras. So I'm just wondering where that's at as far as our position and whether that's going to be debated at a policy standing committee or what we're going to do with that proposal. Thank you.
Yeah, through the chair. Yeah, thank you for the question, councillor. So what I would recommend to council in this case is that the review of the CCTV camera management be undertaken as part of the operational plan review. I just see there's a action that's come out of the executive standing committee for the CCTV, which I just see here from Leanne. That's what I was just looking at on my computer. I believe there was 6.7.1. There was a resolution from that, which is first quarter review of the operational plan to be included in the CCTV policy, looking at resourcing and requirements of that. So it'll get reviewed through the operational plan, councillor. I think there's an opportunity there for us to deal with those issues that you lied there and look at consistency across our region of how they're managed.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm really keen to see that happen because I do think we need to get some consistency because I know that once you put the cameras in, there's an ongoing maintenance which the different community groups who applied for the cameras are really, really struggling with. And I think that if we can get consistency and council, I'm actually keen to see council take it on because then we've got consistency across our region. And I think that they're very, very important for the safety of our community to have those cameras kept, maintained. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Duff. Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Acting Mayor. Listen, just curious with regards to, through you, Acting Mayor, to General Manager Meehan, with regards to the cameras. Now, I know as Councillor Duff said that the police are looking for us to take over the cameras in Mergen. So we're doing this, if we do this in every single town that we have the cameras, that's fine, I don't have an issue with that. But do we get reimbursed by I think I know the answer to this, but do we get reimbursed by the police department for helping them?
No, through the chair. My understanding is the cameras will be owned by council, and council will be charged with that system. What I think is an opportunity to. We've met with a number of independent operators or people who provide that service. So there is an administrator of the system in Nanango, and again, I just acknowledge that there's great support from the community and I believe the local bank for the administration of the Nanango system. Generally, what happens is QPS will take a feed for the system, so they'll be able to view it. But given that the council owns those cameras because they're on public infrastructure, they'll need to be managed and operated by the council. I think there's an opportunity to just look at here and also where there's an opportunity to get support or grants for the operation of these systems. City Safe is not just in Kingrow but every town. Obviously, we've had incidents, and I think there's an opportunity to just look at how the whole system is managed, and we can work in conjunction with external providers within our region too that might be able to administer it at a reasonably cost-effective price as well.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. I'd just certainly like to acknowledge the great support that our region has had to really bring these cameras actually into our community and recognise the value they could create in terms of keeping our community safe. I'm comfortable with the policy and council's approach to the management of the system, but considering that from a regional perspective and what those ongoing costs and things will actually mean for our organisation, I think will be important. So I'm looking forward to that work and fully support it going into as a core pillar to concentrate on in our operational plan. And I think at the end of the day, we're all very mindful. We want to keep our community safe. We recognise the need for consistency across the region. So I think this is the right approach. And for now, I think the policy is sound. And I certainly recognise that's a challenge because there are a number of privacy things that need to be considered from the Information Privacy Act, Right to Information Act. So certainly recognise the work that's gone into this policy and look forward to the work that comes following this. Thank you. Thanks,
Councillor. Any other councillors? Yeah, I just basically want to re-endorse what the councillors have spoken about here. It's an important thing. We had a day where a police officer and an ambulance officer came in and spoke to council on Monday, and the police officer certainly highlighted the benefits of having camera surveillance throughout towns and all that in helping them do their job and trying to keep the community safer. So I think it's a great step moving forward to keep our community safer. But as Councillor Shoemaker alluded to, it does come with a cost, and that's something that we'll have to work through. So as it sits here in front of us, I think it's a very good policy with review coming. So any other questions, comments, councillors? So what we have in front of us, the adoption of the South Burnett Regional Council Surveillance Camera Operations Policy, Statutory 051. The motion that the officer's recommendation, that the South Burnett Regional Council Surveillance Camera Operations Policy, Statutory 051, be adopted and presented. And that was moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Henson. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9.10, the Annual Operations Plan 2020-2021, the Implementation Progress Report for the period ending 30th of June 2021. The officer's recommendation that the monthly financial... that the South Burnett Regional Council Annual Operational Plan 2020-2021 Implementation Progress Report for the period 1st of July 2020 to the 30th of June 2021 be adopted as presented. And just a little bit of a summary, the South Burnett Regional Council Annual Operational Plan details the projects, services and initiatives that the Council plan to deliver for the 2021 financial year. Pursuant to Section 174(3) of the Local Government Regulation 2012, a report must be presented to the Council at regular intervals detailing the progress towards the implementation of the plan. And it also, financial and resource implications. No direct financial or resource implications arise from this report other than what has been identified in Council's financial, budgeting and planning documents, and the link to the Corporate Operational Plan, EC1, and Informed and Engaged Community, EXC2, effective corporate management, EXC4, effective advocacy and strategic partnerships, EXC5, quality customer service, and INF1, infrastructure that meets our community needs. Note the Operational Plan 2021 is aligned to Council's Corporate Plan 2018-19 to 2022-23. Do we have a mover?
Acting Mayor, just before you move it, could I indulge councillors just turn to page 213 because it will be a slight amendment. On page, Trace, can you bring up 213 on the screen? On with regard to the number of resolutions, we had a small hiccup. The document shows general or ordinary meeting resolutions 451. That was actually 459. Standing committee, so we got through a few more than what was first counted. Standing committee was not 109, but it's 125. That's infrastructure. And exec and finance wasn't 137, it was actually 168. So they will be amended in the final document. So just to bring them to council's attention. Whilst it's not a material change, it's just nice to have the right numbers.
Thank you, Mr. CEO. Do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, second to Councillor Potter. Comments or questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I'd certainly like to acknowledge the work and our team for everything that's gone into the past 12 months. It's extraordinary to actually read through the operational plan and the report and the progress that we've made. I know got clear focus now through our corporate plan, and I know this year we've got more rather large, ambitious goals that we're chasing, but also probably reading through this, it just reminded me of the day-to-day activities that we should never take for granted that our council provide to our community here. And certainly was great to read through and acknowledge the work that has been done in these past 12 months. I think it's felt some days like a bit of a blur because there have been so many balls in the air, but I really do just appreciate our senior management team, CEO Mark, my fellow councillors and everybody who's part of the council team who has made this happen. And I really look forward to the year ahead. I know we've got some more great things ahead. So I just wanted to say thank you and for all of your efforts, and certainly would love to hear from CEO Mark in terms of just how he would like to round out your thoughts, any insights or learnings or things that you would like to share. Certainly a hell of a lot of work. It was a very long report to read, so thank you for the work that's gone in.
Acting Mayor, thanks, Councillor. Appreciate the segue. I'll probably actually tie 9.10 and 9.11 in my comments, and then I won't speak on unless there's a question. I think I've elegantly put it to a number of staff that for the last 12 months, given all the commentary and everything else, we've absolutely smashed it. The work and the volume that this council puts out, we've had reports. Really pleasing is to see some of the, really pleasing is to be some of the very unelegant, I don't think is a correct word, but inelegant work that goes on behind the scenes to get the data right. You know you're busy, but it's nice to actually have the backup to prove it. And the number's been thrown around before, but 1 million emails through the organisation last calendar year. The customer requests, the roads, every kilometre of roads, every invoice that's paid, it's front desk services, it's front staff services, but it's the back office as well that drives the organisation. We tend to often talk about, and again, I was only speaking to a group of staff yesterday morning, we tend to often think about it's a great little council. It's no longer a great little council. It is a great big council. $1 billion worth of asset under management, a $70 million operational budget, 30 million to 100 million, $1 billion. These numbers are well worth remembering. $1 billion under asset, I'm rounding to for the accountants in the room, $1 billion in assets under management, $100 million a year now this organisation puts in, year out. 300 plus staff, If we were listed on our balance sheet is strong. We have results that, and it will steal the thunder of General Manager Jarvis next, but the deficit for last year, and I know we've spoken about it in the past, everyone working and pulling together, that has just been pulled down. We are turning out results that other councils would be just very envious of. And I cannot be prouder to be a member of this council and to work with the staff group that we have. And the operational report, it is a long read, but very worthy of it, and very much looking forward to hooking into this year and seeing what we can do again. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. CEO. That's, yeah. I can't endorse those words enough with the staff that we have at the council and the work that they do, and the finance team led by General Manager Jarvis and all that. Do you want to make any comment in regards to that, GM, or are you happy to? I'll pass it over to you. I'm sure you've got something good to say for your staff.
Thank you, Acting Mayor, for the opportunity. I appreciate it. And I'd like to reiterate all the comments made by our CEO and again endorse his words there, if I can steal those, that I'm very proud to be a member of this great big council as well. I'm also very pleased to be part of what I think is a very proactive and positive senior management team, and also to be part or assist what I believe is a great team of councillors as well. So thank you for that opportunity. With regards to my staff, finance in particular, I know they're shining at this time of the year with the budget, and I know they have worked extremely hard. Like I said, they're here early in the mornings, they're going home late at nights, and they have children at home and as well, and their dedication to this council is beyond reproach. But not only that, as the CEO alluded to, I'm very, very happy with the end result. It's still not concrete at the moment, but just some figures for your information. There was our original budget was 3.675 million deficit. Our first quarter review saw an increase to a $4.6 million deficit. The amended budget came down to a 3.207 deficit, and we've ended the year with a $2.4 million deficit. So we've pulled back 1.3 million. Now, I just want to congratulate every single staff member of the South Burnett Regional Council for their assistance in this matter. Everyone's really, they're punching above their weight. They're looking at all of the expenditure. They're seeing where they can cut back. And I just want to compliment it and thank every single staff member of the South Burnett Regional Council, including you as a council, for making us very, very transparent and very accountable for all of our actions. There hasn't been one figure that we've produced in this chamber that hasn't been challenged respectfully. And I believe that we've provided you with that information, and I'm looking forward to the next 12 months of even sort of finding more savings or efficiencies and, going through the workshops, and just appreciate all of your, all your faith in the leadership team, and we moving forward, looking forward to a great new year. So thank you, Mr. Acting Mayor, for the opportunity.
Thanks, GM, and I just want to finish up by saying that this is certainly not about backslapping and all that sort of stuff and playing happy in the sandpit and whatever, but the staff at this council really do deserve the recognition that has just been given. They do a wonderful job, right from the people, the men and the women, out on the ground doing the roads, right through to the senior management and the CEO. And this is our budget, and your 2.4 million has not been responsible for one person. This has been a team effort right from the very top to the very bottom, and I can only say a huge congratulations and thank you to our staff. They do a wonderful job, and look forward to continuing the working relationship we have. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. This is just a question to General Manager O'May. So we delivered what I thought was a wonderful drought community program under the federal government funding, including the 10 minutes with a master, and then we had the functions at Maidenwell and Bowie, and Mondure and Burrendown. I'm on page 184, and then we had the other functions at the halls with the RU Bogtomate, Mary O'Brien, and then we have the Extension Officer, Alan Broom, employed. And I'm just wondering, because that was to the 30th of June, part of that whole program was a development of an adverse event plan. Alan was leading us with the Ag Network meetings and implementation of business extension program, and he was out and about. And I'm just keen to know where we've finished up with the adverse event plan, and also hoping that given the mental health issues and challenges that the farmers are facing, considering we're still in drought, that what's happening with his role and where we're at with that, because I'd absolutely like to see that continue if at all possible. But I'm just wondering, has it been finished up, or where are we at with that particular role? Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Through the chair, Councillor Duff. Yeah, so Alan did produce. So Alan was employed by Edo. So we had that funding that was to 30th of June. So we have honoured that up to there. So Alan has produced an adverse event plan, basically outlining steps that we can take as a community. We will bring that back to council. Bring that back through the next standing committee. But as far as that program, that has finished. So Alan is still with Baido, and Baido is still keen to continue to work in this space. But as far as council, we haven't committed any funding. I know we have got budget for those areas, but council still needs to make through their budget deliberations what sort of contributions that we are going to make to Baido. So that's a council decision on how much contribution that you'll want to put into that program. But as far as our drought community funding, that was to 30th of June, and that funding is finished now.
Thank you. Just keen to see us look at that closely, because I think it was a very important role that he was playing, and I'm hoping that the councillors will support that continuing in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. So at 9:10, the Annual Operational Plan 2020-2021 Implementation Progress Report for the period ending 30th of June 2021. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council Annual Operational Plan 2021 Implementation Progress Report for the period 1st of July 2020 to the 30th of June 21 be adopted as presented. Moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 9:11 on the agenda can be found on page 228. And the monthly financial report, the officer's recommendation that the monthly financial report, including capital works and works for Queensland, as at the 30th of June 2021, be received and noted. And in this one, the financial and resource implications, tracking actual revenue and expenditure compared to budget as adopted at the council meeting held on the 15th of July 2020. The amended budget maintains a link with achieving the Operational Plan 2021 and is generally in line with the revenue and expenditure priorities of the original budget as adopted by Council on the 15th of July 2020. And the link to the Corporate and Operational Plan, OR5, continue to give priority to ongoing financial sustainability and prudent budget management and communication consultation, internal and external, monitored and reviewed by budget managers. And the rest of the report is there for everybody to see. So do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker. A seconder, Councillor Froloff. Questions, comments in regards to the monthly financial report? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. I did just have a couple of questions, if you bear with me. Just in relation to the capital, I lost my page now, sorry. Capital Works program and the grants that were received. I note that was an enormous undertaking to fulfil the Works for Queensland obligations of $4 million and then the COVID round of another $3 million. And I know we've talked about works in progress and how they roll over, and I just wanted a bit of an update. I can see from the numbers in the report, it looks like we are set to deliver our capital works program, and I just wanted a bit of an update in relation to that section of the report.
General Manager.
I'll go first, Pete, if you want. Yeah, through you, Mr. Deputy Mayor. So just in relation to, I'll let Pete talk about W4Q. LRCI, we fully delivered that program through the financial year, which was a great achievement by the team. As far as progress goes, we fully delivered the TIDS and RRTG programs as well. So, which is nice. I think Mark said the other day, we actually got a congratulatory email from the department this year, which is usual, then sweating at the 11th hour. So, look, and it's probably just on the back of what we said before. Like, at the end of the day, it is a very large capital works program. I know we have, a workforce that works very hard, but also we have a large local contractor contingent that we use as well to partner with us to deliver the work. So, I think it's been a successful year for us, and we look forward to this year's getting out early onto the program. And basically getting a large program delivered through the books again this year. So that's probably my contribution, Councillor, if that helps.
GMMA.
Yeah. Through the chair to Councillor Shoemaker. So probably is good question and worth commenting on the Works for Queensland program. So financially we will wrap up 30th of June. So we did have a number of projects and that we actually have funded and just through now we're they're just being finalised off. So that we did experience through the year delays on delivery of products, contractor availability. So it was very close run at the end to try getting things finalised. So we are just over this month finalising a lot of those. And you will remember through the year we did actually shift a number of capital projects or funded projects into the Works for Queensland project. So we had projects that couldn't be delivered. We had the one where we had contractors from Melbourne couldn't get out of Melbourne for lockdown. So there are a number of projects that were shifted out of Works for Queensland and are being funded under Council's capital now and conversely. So that's how we actually would manage to utilise all of the grant funding by delivering those projects we could deliver. But it has left a number of projects that Council is still delivering but will be delivered under the capital funding. So in the first quarter of review of this year, we will see a number of those projects identified and a budget adjustment with to finalise those projects. So it will seem like there's be seeking additional funding in first quarter, but that funding is actually what's been saved in last financial year by transferring projects. So we've saved capital funding last year by utilising Works for Queensland. And so we'll be finishing them off. So it's probably just flagging that there will be the final wrap up of this, the implications of that Works for Queensland delay and shifting projects in and out of capital. Has made it pretty difficult, and there's large spreadsheets and doing the reconciliation. So we will get a final wrap up in the first quarter, and there'll be just finalise those projects. And that's really just some capital money from council just finishing off and adding to some of those projects where Works for Queensland delivered a component, and then there's just the final bit to tidy it up. So happy to run through individually sort of in workshop, but there is sort of a lot of juggling.
Yeah, no, I can. I definitely did start going into detail into the detail at the back of the financial report, and I can see that juggling throughout the year. So I think that first quarter review will be a great opportunity to lean into the learnings from that. But I certainly do recognise the challenges of COVID and for our community, and recognise the work that's gone into delivering that program. And I think everyone can see improvements in their areas across the projects that were selected. One supplementary question, if that's okay. Just with the long-term forecast, I was just leaning in and looking over that, and I'd like to acknowledge certainly there's been a lot of work, a lot of teamwork gone into the savings that have been found, and I know our commitment to finding more efficiencies is shared across the organisation. I just, looking at that financial position, certainly looking at the years ahead, it's great to have that data and to be able to make reasonable decisions, responsible decisions, not just for this council but for the following councils. And I note in that report, I think it was year 6 that I found that we actually would finally come out of deficit if we continued tracking the way we're tracking. But I understand that the number of things subject to change, and I also understand our councils, we've talked about that commitment to looking at that long-term forecast and doing that work to really try to do the best by our community. So I just wanted to understand that project's still in the run, and certainly from a financial position, looking across the board over the long term and noting the challenges that we have, even with that year 6 sort of date that's here at this point in time, and I recognise it's a point in time. I know there's a lot more work to be done, certainly.
Thanks, Councillor. GM Jarvis.
Thank you. Through you, Mr Acting Mayor. Yes, Councillor, you are correct. It is a point in time, and you'll see that 10-year forecast has also included our proposed borrowings for Gordon Brook. We factored that in there as well, but if we were to get external funding, it will change immediately. But it is a healthy forecast there, even with those borrowings in there. And as the CEO alluded to, financially, I'm very, very happy with the financial position of this council as it currently stands, and I look forward to it even being better. We are in a very healthy position, and I might just, through your permission, Mr Acting Mayor, just a couple of points here that maybe through the financials, just for the councillors' information, there is that we ended the year there with a cash balance of $40.967 million there, which has increased by $2.758 million from last month. Out of that, say 41 million is closer to, 24.176 is restricted there with our cash. All of our financial ratios came in on target and even above target. They were in a very, very healthy range there as well. Just in our capital expenditure, you'll see there that 1.7 there was disposed of. That's our intangible asset. That's our Tech One that we wrote off last financial year. So I just thought I'd highlight that for the capital expense. Our borrowings remain at 33 million. We pay a DSP of about 2 million per year, so that decreases. September, we pay in advance every year. Our rates in arrears, sadly, at the 30th of June, we had $5.29 million owing to us in rates in arrears there, so which is 9.14%. Normally our target is 7%. So it has come down from 12%, but still that is a lot of money there outstanding. So that equates to 1,593 assessments, but out of those assessments, 95% of them have a payment plan in place there to recoup that. And just that our rates notices now are going to be issued on the 19th of August, with the due date there of the 22nd of September, the first discount. And currently it will come later. We have 69 properties at the moment that we're looking at that are 3 years and over for payment of rates in arrears. So they're just a little bit of a snapshot, but I thought the council might have been interested in, just as we wound up the end of, that's the fourth quarter review and the end of the financial year. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Yeah, thank you for the summary and for all the work that's gotten us to this point. I look forward to the year ahead, definitely.
Thank you, Councillor, and thanks to all three of the senior management GMs there for a good overview of to help us through the monthly financial report and overview of Council's operations. So we have the monthly financial report, moved by Councillor Shoemaker, second by Councillor Froloff, that the monthly financial report, including capital works and works for Queensland, as at the 30th of June 2021 be received and noted. So I have, we'll go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Councillors, we're going to deal with the 9:12 and then we're going to break for morning tea so that we can spend a little bit of time with the wonderful children from Kingrow State School to give them an opportunity to have a chat with us and morning tea and all that before they depart at 11 o'clock. So we'll move on now to 9:12, Financial Hardship Rates Application, property number 223190. And the officer's recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council accede to the request from the owners of property number 223190 and approve the payment plan as detailed below. Payment plan initially for $100 per fortnight, payment plan to increase to $120 from the 1st of August 2022, payment plan to increase to $140 per fortnight from the 1st of August 23 until the rate arrears are cleared, additional payments to be made when possible throughout the payment plan. Interest will not be charged on overdue rates if the payment plan is maintained. Payment plan will be reviewed in September 22 or at later times if the rates section is advised that the property owner's circumstances have changed significantly. Payment plan will expire upon payment in full of rates arrears, and General Manager Finance and Corporate be authorised to negotiate a suitable payment plan should the owners seek to vary the approved payment plan. Now, this was discussed, councillors, at a previous meeting, and it was brought forward, the 6-0. So do I have a mover for Councillor Duff? Do we have a seconder? Councillor Fryloff, any comments, conversation? Councillor Duff?
Just for the benefit of the students, this is a hardship policy, and it's for those ratepayers who really struggle, and they can come to council and look for some support, and we put them on particular plan and work with them closely. So that's for anyone who's really struggling. So we have this particular hardship policy, and I'm really keen that to support this recommendation to support this particular ratepayer in their current circumstances. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Duff, and a very good explanation to the students there that have come in to witness democracy at its best, hopefully. So we have that financial hardship rates application, property number 223190. The motion or the officer's recommendation was moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Fryloff, as read just previously. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour, sorry? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, so council and the children in the gallery, I would like to acknowledge the students that have come along today, and I'll just read out your first names. I won't. So we've got Douglas, Archie, Jack, Logan, Ewan, William, Cass, Chase, Charlie, Jaden, Mason and Phoebe, accompanied by Miss Julie Matheson and Miss Marianne Fisher. Thank you very much. I know it would have been a long hour and a half for you to sit through, something that you're not used to, and we do appreciate your attendance and your observations of how local government works. So we'll now move to adjourn the meeting so that we can go and have morning tea with you out in the forecourt. So do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, second to Councillor Potter. All in favour? Thank you, and we'll resume at 11 o'clock. Thanks, councillors. Okay, thank you. We'll resume the general meeting for the month of July at 10:55. Do I have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, seconder. Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Okay, we'll move on now to item number 10 on the agenda, 10.1, the Portfolio Roads and Drainage Black Spot Funding Program 22-23. Presented at the Infrastructure Standing Committee meeting held on the 7th of July 21 was a report on the Black Spot Funding Program for 22-23. The summary committee resolution 21/4 was moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Potter, that the committee recommends to council that council nominate the following projects that address the federal government's road safety criteria. The first one, Youngman Street, King Street, Kingrow. Second, Colson Street, Hart Street, Blackbutt. Third, Bunya Highway, Carneys Road, Cumbia. fourth, Bunya Mountains Road, Bunya Avenue, Bunya Mountains, and the fifth one, Myers Road, Weens Road, and West Street, Kingrow. So the officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council nominate the following projects that address the federal government's road safety criteria as read above. Do I have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, seconder. Councillor Potter, any comments or questions in regards to those nominated roads? Okay, go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Move on now to 10.2 and the speed zone on Bunya Highway. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council write to the Department of Transport and Main Roads, DTMR, requesting that the 80 kilometre zone on the Bunya Highway be extended to include the Taylors Road, Myers Road intersection. Do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder, Councillor Duff. Comments, questions, councillors? Any commentary there for GM Meehan in regards to that? Any updates have we written?
Yeah, no, through you, Deputy Mayor, it's been previously raised with the TAC committee, so what we'll do is continue to reiterate that with the department, that we ask them to review to increase that in 80 zone area to include that intersection. And obviously we're aware there's been a number of incidents there in recent times, so that'll be reviewed based on the cause of those accidents, and ask for the TMR to take a review of that for us.
Thanks, GM. So we have the speed zone on Bunya Highway. Offers a recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council write to the Department of Transport and Main Roads, DTMR, requesting that the 80 kilometre zone on the Bunya Highway be extended to include Taylors Road, Myers Road intersection. Moved by Councillor Potter, seconded by Councillor Duff. All those in favour? Thank you. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, we move on now to... Councillor Duff. Yep.
Mr Mayor, just on the roads, I just wanted to, while we're on this section, I know that since the rain we've had a lot of potholes break out, and I just wanted to give the General Manager a chance to talk about that and let the community know what the process is, because I know I've been driving around, and if every time I pulled up to take a picture of a pothole, I wouldn't be able to get anywhere. And the Mayor has also declared to me that he's spending most of his time driving here and there photographing potholes. So I'm just wondering, is that the process? Are we meant to actually pull up and take photos of every single pothole, or how are we managing that? Because since the rain, they've just really exploded. I just would like to give you the opportunity to explain to the community how we're meant to manage the potholes.
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor. Wet weather, it comes up a lot occasionally, which is good to see that we're talking about rain more than not raining these days. The weather makes a big difference to our road network, both our sealed and unsealed network. So in the dry times, what we see is our road complaints go up that the roads become rougher because they unravel on the gravel roads. The other flip side of that is if it rains too much, they corrugate, and even 5 mil of rain on a newly graded road can corrugate pretty well straight away, and obviously the potholes get bigger as well. With the sealed roads, obviously we see some roads that are starting to show a little bit of fatigue in places, and the road may not be necessarily bad, there just might be isolated sections. So I'll use Taylors Road example. I travel that road every day. The road itself is quite good. It's not nowhere near at the end of its life, but we're seeing isolated potholes turn up as well, where what we find is that the road is, in the dry times, has split apart slightly, and the water's been able to get into some of those cracks, and off they go. The continual rain that we've seen also creates a few issues for us, because what we see is that a lot of the potholes will start to obviously get larger, particularly the ones with more traffic on them. And what we've seen is continual rain over the winter period to date, which has been great for our community, but not so good if you're managing a road network. So our team continues to work to a prioritised program for the potholes and the sealed pavement repairs. What we're doing at the moment is we're doing a coordinated program where we look at all of our complaints on a fortnightly basis, and we're building a program to go and deal with those complaints, which is quite an efficient way to deal with those issues. It's a little bit like slashing. You're always going to have some long grass, you're always going to have some roads need grade, and you're always going to have some potholes. The wet weather's obviously exacerbated the situation where, to be honest, I think the network is actually in quite good condition. And looking at the asset data, it supports that. why we're seeing potholes come up is because we're seeing continual rain come into our area. People are not seeing potholes in the drier times. Now they're starting to see them pop up. I would encourage people to report any defects on the road to our customer service team. Our service levels as a council hasn't changed. We continue to grade every road every year. Obviously, some roads last longer than others, depending on the condition of the network. Up in some areas, we've seen significant rain, particularly up in your area, Councillor Duff. Like we've seen, minor flooding up in the Bye area and up in some of those roads there. Obviously, we'll have more potholes and more defects. But what we're also seeing is that your unsealed network up in your area is quite good, as you said before, because we've got moisture in the gravel. So there's pros and cons of weather. What I would encourage is that council, if they do see them, or our ratepayers, is to report them to council. They'll be put into a priority program to get them done. We're obviously, in my opinion, moving a lot more efficiently than what we were a couple of years ago with this. We're not moving from spot to spot to spot. We're actually setting coordinated machines into programs. So we're actually reviewing these customer requests and putting together a fortnightly and monthly program. So just ask people to be patient with us, I suppose. That's the big thing is we only have limited machines and we only have limited budget as well. We do what we can. We can't fix every pothole at once, but we are looking to do obviously the high priority stuff. And what we're seeing is sometimes we're going to people and saying it could be 3 months or 4 months and those sort of things, and they're fixed within a week or two, depending on where the program is actually landing. So I just encourage that with council, and that's part of being a road owner. We have good times and obviously wet times as well, which causes us some grief, but we will get there.
So, GM, and this is no way defending our council, but I speak regularly to every one of the councils that border us, Western Downs, North Burnett, Toowoomba, Sunshine Coast, and all those areas, and it's not a good comment, but thankfully they have the same issue. The potholes just continually arise when we have rain, and yes, we do. I do have some of the main comments that I get in regards to potholes, and I'll just get you to touch on it briefly. When we're doing some pothole repair work, sometimes they're not holding and they're back to, we get that shower rain or whatever else, and the questions are why, after we go and repair a pothole, are they coming back just as bad, if not worse, within 3 or 4 weeks? And can't think of the other one.
Difference in machines?
The 2 machines, that's right. So the 2 machines that we have, I know that we were getting phone calls quite regularly about sending a machine out, one machine out, and they're doing a certain portion of the potholes and not doing the others, and then we have to send the other truck out. Can you just touch on that and explain where we're trying to improve there?
Through you, Deputy Chair. So probably the first one there is the difference between the 2 machines. So we had a discussion, I think, previously at a standing committee. Sometimes people think we drive over a pothole to get to a pothole. What you'll see is that we use 2 different machines. We use one that's called a pave line machine, which is basically puts down a spray stone, which is quite a thin surfacing. And another machine, which is called a Flowcon, which puts in a premix or cold mix asphalt. What happens with the pave line, because it's a thin layer, it's there to do the shallow potholes and the large square meterage. There's certain potholes, once it reaches a certain depth, it cannot do because there's too much stone to put in the hole. Now, what happens is if you use premix to do large areas, you spend a lot of money and the machine and the product doesn't hold because it's too thin. So we try to select the right machine for the right hole, if that makes sense. What we also see is that the one that comes up a bit is, we fixed a pothole and it's got bigger, it's got worse, or whatever it might be. What we do is we provide a treatment to a pothole to try and mitigate and manage that road in the best condition that it can be. If we were to go through and put hot mix asphalt into every pothole on the first time or even on the second time, you're looking at $80 a square metre. For us to provide a pave line seal, it's $12 a square metre. So you can imagine what that does to your maintenance bill. So what our team does is, and I don't say we get this right every time, I think there's a process where we will work through our maintenance system where we see continual repeat ones, and also depending on where those locations are as well. So higher traffic roads where we're seeing repeat potholes, we'll go with a higher end treatment. And we see that down, I think I've gave this example before at McDonald's down here. Ones in the driveway there have constantly blown out. We went and put hot mix in there, which is a better solution. What we'll do in some other areas is we'll continue to use pave lines and cold mix asphalt. Because it's cost-effective treatment for the road and the investment we get. Yes, it might come back in 6 to 12 months. It might come back in 3 weeks. Depends on how much rain that we have in those areas. It's part of an environmental thing. It's a risk management process that we take for our network based on the investment we make. If we were to go to high-end treatments and repair every pothole with a large high, dig out asphalt or whatever it might be, your maintenance bill will go from 6.8 or $7 million a year to probably, 12, 13, 14 million. So that's a direct cost that the ratepayer. So what we see too is a lot of times we'll do holding treatments on some of these roads until such time as it comes up in the forward program. So we don't want to go and drop $100,000 on a road that we might reconstruct in year 3 or 4 or something like that as well. So it's around managing these, and this is the asset management approach we take. We are continuing to implement our maintenance management system. We have a new engineer who will be arriving, who'll be working with in this area going forward. We're still targeting working towards Christmas to try and get our sealed network up and running in the maintenance system, where we can start to make better decisions in this space. So it is a period in time, and I think too, and we say it all the time, it's about continuous improvement for our organisation, and that's what we target in our group. So, and again, we could have 100 mil of rain tonight, and we could do some serious damage up on part of the road network. That's life, and what we need to make sure is that we respond adequately to that and manage our network.
Thanks, GM. Good explanation. Councillor Henson.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Yeah, I'd like to just comment on that and ask a question to GM O'May. With our 2 trucks, and I've mentioned this before, I think you might recall, the one truck does to approximately 50 mil potholes, and then the other is certainly bigger, and there's some big potholes out there, that's for sure. But is it a possibility for those 2 trucks to work in conjunction, because there's no road that just has 50 mil potholes on it, and no road that just has metre square potholes on it? But is there a possibility those 2 trucks, and it might negate the comments we get back from, exactly like you said, drive over a pothole to get to a pothole, those 2 trucks could work in conjunction when they do those particular roads?
Yeah, through the Deputy Chair, yeah, 100% agree. We've raised this with our maintenance team, and they will be looking to program together where possible. The biggest issue that we find in this time of the year is because the flowcon goes for the deeper ones, they're normally sent to another area, because if there's high priority deep defects in some of these roads, they'll move around. What we would like us to see is in non-wet weather times is that we start doing coordinated programs, exactly that. So we send 2 machines out together to do a maintenance service on a road. And what the maintenance system will allow us to do is to start planning. So if we were going to, say your area, we were going to Iron Pot Road, we would have a schedule for that road where we would coordinate the flow con and the pave line at the same time, because there's a lot of benefit to actually fixing the road in sections and actually covering some of that work at the same time with stone. It's probably 2 parts that we can be more efficient in this area with our planning and support. But the big one is chasing down those priorities at the moment to try and get across the network as quickly as we can to close some of these up.
Yeah, thank you. But I also, Deputy Mayor, just bring to the chambers, and as Councillor Duff has alluded to some 2 weeks ago, that Gordon Brook road was absolutely atrocious. Within a matter of days, there was a grader out there, and it is improved out of sight. In the miles that has been done, and I've done in many divisions in the last couple of weeks, and just let it be aware to councillors and the chambers, I've gone that many gravel roads where there's been graders or graders working. The Burrabri Road from Gerards Road and the Manar Road, which is right on our northern boundary, which is a long way up there. It is a long way up there. Back to Burrabri Road, which is there at the Burrendown Racetrack and the Burrendown Road, the Iron Pot Road. There has been some serious road work happening in the last 2 or 3 weeks. It's absolute credit, the amount of kilometres that the guys have got over. I came back through the Burrabri Road several days ago, and there's a grader and a water truck there just doing a fantastic job on that road. So they're out there, they're certainly out there, and again, I think the public needs to take it on board. That doesn't happen overnight, but there's a lot of work going on out there, and a credit to you and your team.
Okay, thanks for that, and good discussion and good explanations there, GM. Okay, we'll move on now to item number 11 on the agenda, 11.1, the Portfolio Community Arts, Heritage, Sport and Recreation, a submission, Youth Mental Health. Precise to this, a motion was moved by Councillor Duff at Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 14th of July 21 regarding a submission for youth mental health. And just a quick brief summary, that the committee recommends the council send a submission to the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister for Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, Mr David Coleman, seeking funding from the federal government for following services for our region. 1, a headspace facility and program addressing youth mental health. 2, a head to health facility and program addressing adult mental health. And 3, funding for 2 teams of 3 mental health support staff for the delivery of field-based services. Should the request be approved, our contribution would be to provide suitable mental health facilities to support the staff and delivery of the programs. So the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council send a submission to the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister for Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, Minister David Coleman, seeking funding from the federal government for the following services for our region. And those 3 are as read just previously. And we now need a mover. Could we, Councillor Duff, seconder, Councillor Potter. Any comments or questions in regarding the submission to the youth mental health? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, Acting Mayor. Yeah, just keen to have this supported. As Councillor Shoemaker would know, the Mayor and Councillor Shoemaker and I went and met with the Minister, David Coleman. He was keen for a submission to be put forward, and this is just to outline what we're trying for and just so that Council endorses what we're doing. Thank you.
Councillor Potter.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. With regards to the Headspace, the good thing about Headspace is it does ages 12 to 25. Now, there is an issue in our area with consistency of care. When children have to visit one service that they're allowed to go to, they have to tell their story. Each time they have to tell their story to a different service that they're pushed onto. And that makes them relive the trauma that they've had to live through. So to have a headspace that goes from the ages of 12 to 25 is really important for our area. And we really need to back this, and I ask that everyone will back this in council. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Potter. Councillor Froloff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I totally agree with Councillor Potter and Councillor Duff. I've had first-hand experience now back at the QAS casual that when a young adult goes in, or young child, youth goes into the hospital, gets put in a little room in the corner, so they can be observed for a while, and then it's the toss up either sending them through to Toowoomba or sending a caseworker in to talk to them, and then they're allowed to go back home. That stress of sitting in that hospital for 6 to 8 hours, not knowing what's happening and all that, is pretty traumatic for the young youth around town. And I totally support this 150%. If we can get this in the South Burnett, it will be tremendous for the youth around here. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Froloff, and well said. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, I just absolutely agree and support everything my colleagues have said. These are we desperately need these services in the South Burnett. I think each of us have stories of people in our region who have been impacted by mental health and not being able to seek the support that they need in our region. And I just really am grateful for the time that Minister Coleman gave us while we were in Canberra, and grateful for the federal government's assistance in recognising that this is a real life issue in communities like ours, in rural communities, and that regions like ours deserve the same level of support. We have the same complex issues as our metropolitan and larger communities, and we absolutely need these supports in our region, just like other areas do. So I really do hope to see some outcomes from this funding. Minister Coleman was very supportive and gave us a very good hearing. So I look forward to the news back.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Potter.
This actually is not to do with that, but recently the Kingrow Chamber of Commerce had their Smile launch and everything, and at that it was brought to the community's attention that the state government, I believe, had given us $125,000. at that Smile launch. Now, I know nothing about this, and we have recently received a letter from the Chamber of Commerce with regards to this $125,000. So is it possible, this will have to be a question on notice, I realise this, so is it possible for us to look into that 125 that they told us that we were receiving?
Well,
Thank you.
firstly, thanks, Councillor. Yeah, a question on notice, and I would appreciate actually, and I know we'll have a catch up offline about this because there's a fair bit. I'm not sure whether there's a confusion of a whole range of different programs, because certainly $125,000 at the Smile launch has not come across my desk. There is a couple other programs, and there's been that we've had it. There's been aware of anyway, without having heard it firsthand yet, which would be looking forward to talking to all our partners, because this one, everyone is such in a positive space of actually doing something that it would be a real, I'm going to express an opinion, a real tragedy to see if this gets side railed because people get wrong information or they get programs mixed up. Can I put it like that? We've just recently, we've only yesterday the portal emails come through. We've just been talking to we were talking to PHN at the end of last financial year. So there is an initiative about to hit the deck here that we'll have to bring back and run council through for all youth mental health. Certainly would coordination of different services that are already in the region, and acknowledge the Commonwealth Government and the PHN network for that support. That has signed the paperwork at the end of June. That approval has just come back yesterday, and it will be the subject of a future report. General Manager O'May has, through his team, put in applications for different grant funding. I'm happy to stand corrected on the timeline, but they've all just been even with the information that we've got, they're all just hitting the deck right towards the end of the financial year and to roll over the financial year. So I think somewhere along the line, some of the information has got a bit blurred as far as, but I'll concentrate on the positive. The wonderful thing is there's so many different, agencies and different between government and also business-led looking to do something in this space, that there's a real momentum now to actually achieve something in the community, and we'll be happy to take it on notice, Councillor, and we'll be bringing reports back in any which case, but we'll add to it. And we're looking very, very much forward to working with all partners. Last night up at the hospital, one of several meetings that we've been up there, had everyone from the chemists all the way through the police, ambulance, health providers, hospitals, working together. So there's a real push to get something done in this space because it's so desperately needed.
Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. Just wanted to clarify, just on the heading was youth mental health, but this proposal is for Head to Health facility, which is adult mental health, and also the field-based services on the ground was about farmers as well. So just a point of clarification so that everybody is on the same page. So this whole recommendation was about mental health, addressing all facets of mental health, not just particularly youth. And I certainly know that that's a big part of it, but there's the headspace and the Head to Health. Just wanted to clarify that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. We can easily make sure that that's so it's a holistic approach to mental health. Yep.
Okay, so I think that the whole chamber is agreeable that this is a very, very high priority for our council to try and do something in this space. So the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council send a submission to the Assistant Minister to the Prime Minister for Mental Health and Suicide Prevention, Minister David Coleman, seeking funding from the federal government for the following services for our region. 1, a headspace facility and program addressing youth mental health. 2, a Head to Health facility and program addressing adult mental health. 3, funding for 2 teams of 3 mental health support staff for the delivery of field-based services. Should this request be approved, our contribution would be, or Council's contribution would be, to provide suitable mental health facilities to support the staff and delivery of the programs. That motion has been, or officer's recommendation was moved by councillor Duff, seconded by councillor Potter. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. We now move on to item 12 on the agenda on page 291, Portfolio for Rural Services, Natural Resource Management, Planning and Compliance Services, 12.1 Coolarbunya Sale Yards Review. Presented at the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 14th of July 21 was a report forwarding information regarding Coolarbunya Sale Yards Review. A quick summary: that the committee recommends to council that sale yard fees and charges be reviewed and presented for further consideration by council, that a draft action plan be prepared to guide future operations at the sale yards having regard to the proposed restructure and the BBRF application, that a draft capital expenditure plan be prepared for further consideration by council, and that a working group be established consisting of Councillor Henson, Councillor Potter, Councillor Duff, the General Manager of Community, Acting Manager of NRM Parks Coordinator, NRM, and the Senior Recreation and Services Officer to complete items 1 to 3 above. So the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council progress with the following items, and that is what was just read as above. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Shoemaker. Comments, questions in regards to this particular one? All good. Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 13, Portfolio for Local Disaster Management, Water and Wastewater Waste Management. We don't have any issues there to deal with, so we move on now to 14, which is the Portfolio for Rural Resilience, Parks and Gardens, Property and Facility Management, Indigenous Affairs, and 14.1, Kingrow Rotary donation, cardiac defibrillators. And please note that our CEO, Mr. Pitt, is leaving the meeting due to a declared conflict earlier at the start of the meeting. And General Manager O'May will answer any questions in regards to this. So the Rotary donation, just a quick one, potential donation of defibrillators for Boondoomba and BP dams. Kingrow Rotary Club Incorporated seek to donate cardiac defibrillators for use at Boondoomba and BP dams. Council is asked to accept the kind offer and acknowledge as appropriate. The officer's recommendation that council accept the donation by Kingrow Rotary Club Inc. of a cardiac defibrillator for BP dam and an official handover be arranged at a mutually convenient time. A quick background: Kingrow Rotary Club Inc. have an ongoing commitment to the community in assisting with life-saving cardiac equipment. The club have identified Boondoomba and BP dams as possible recipients. In reviewing the current needs of both sites, Boondoomba is already in possession of a defibrillator. However, BP dam is available to accept one. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconder Councillor Potter. Questions, comments in regards to the Kingrow Rotary donation? Councillor Duff.
I just wanted to say that I think it's fantastic that what the Rotary Club are doing. They've reached out to other community groups in particularly the Proston area, so and they're looking to support some other defibrillators in the town of Proston. So just wanted to acknowledge the wonderful work that the Kingrow Rotary Club are doing to support our community.
Thanks, Councillor Duff, and fully endorse those comments. I have been a part of receiving some donations with the defibrillators in small villages across our South Burnett region, and they do a wonderful job and save lives. If they save one life, it's a bonus. Any other comments, councillors, before we go to the vote? All good. So the officer's recommendation that council accept the donation by Kingrow Rotary Club Inc. of a cardiac defibrillator for BP dam and an official handover be arranged at a mutually convenient time. Moved by Councillor Henson, second by Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 14.2. Yeah, thanks, Councillor Froller. Took the opportunity and run. Please note that the CEO has just re-entered after dealing with item 14.1. Okay, 14.2 on the agenda, page 297, business name change, Boondoomba Dam. Presented at the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 14th of July was a report forwarding information regarding business name change, Boondoomba Dam. A committee resolution was moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Shoemaker, that the council support the registration change of business name from Lake Boondoomba Caravan and Recreation Park to Boondoomba Dam Caravan and Recreation Park by way of application to the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. So the officer's recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council support the registration change of business name from Lake Boondoomba Caravan and Recreation Park to Boondoomba Dam Caravan and Recreation Park by way of application to the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Potter. Comments, questions? Councillor Duff.
Yeah, just wanted to endorse this resolution. I'm really keen to see this happen because it's about consistency. We've been promoting 2 dams, 1 destination, which I think is fantastic. We've got the Bjelke-Petersen Dam, and now it would be Boondoomba Dam. I think that Lake Boondoomba causes confusion, and the road is called Boondoomba Dam. Everyone refers to it as Boondoomba Dam, so I'm really keen to support the consistent approach of calling this dam Boondoomba Dam. Thank you.
Yes, and fair comments, Councillor. Any other questions? Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. Just want to acknowledge too, in reading through the financial report, I see Council has made a significant investment in both of our dams this past 12 months. And I know visitation numbers are up across our region. And from a tourism point of view, I think the new branding and this approach is really exciting as we take our dams to the next level, I guess, for our community, but also for our visitors. So I'm very excited about the changes that are happening and the focus on really elevating these as premier tourism attractions for our region going forward. So I can't support this enough and look forward to continued work in this space.
Thank you, Councillor. Any more comments before we go to the vote? Okay, so we have the business name change, Boondoomba Dam. The officer's recommendation has been moved by Councillor Duff, seconded by Councillor Potter, that the South Burnett Regional Council support the registration change of business name from Lake Boondoomba Caravan and Recreation Park to Boondoomba Dam Caravan and Recreation Park by way of application to the Australian Securities and Investment Commission. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 14.3, BP Dam Contractor Conference Centre Fees and Charges. Presented at the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 14th of July 21 was a report forwarding information regarding BP Dam. That, just want to verify, that is, it says contractor here on my agenda. Is it contractor? Am I right in saying contractor? Okay, so information regarding BP Dam Contractor Conference Centre Fees and Charges. A resolution was moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Duff, that the council approve the proposed fees and charges for the Contractors Conference Centre accommodation at Bjelke-Petersen Dam. The Contractors Conference Centre, maximum 6 persons, 6 single rooms and shared comm area, all linen provided. Per room, dorm style, shared common area. Per night, non-peak $60, peak $60. So the officer's recommendation is that South Burnett Regional Council approve the proposed fees and charges for the Contractors Conference Centre accommodation at Bjelke-Petersen Dam. And they're listed there on the agenda in front of you, exactly as I said, $60 non-peak, $60 peak, per room, dorm style, shared common area. Do we have a mover? Councillor Duff, seconder. Councillor Henshin. Any comments, questions? Councillor Duff.
Through you, Acting Mayor Jones, just wanted to actually compliment the General Manager and the team on this particular initiative. I have to apologise because I was really against this. I wanted to just lease the building out to the fish stocking group, and I got pushback from the team, and it's turned out to be a way better outcome because it's an opportunity for a lot of people, contractors, different groups to utilise the facility and make it much more beneficial than just having the one group. And the fish stocking group are really happy too because they've got a couple of rooms. So everybody's happy, and council will benefit with the additional income and the opportunity to support some staff, and also if they wanted to have like a if schools want to go out there, there's that accommodation and that nice lounge in the centre. It's really great. So thank you, and my apologies for being so difficult to deal with through the process. Thank you.
Well acknowledged, councillor, and councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I just had a simple question. Fully agree. I probably know the answer to this, but I'm assuming we haven't selected to nominate a peak rate because we're looking at that consistency throughout the year. And I think from memory, we have a lot of contractors and things in the area who are using these facilities. So we're just offering a blanket rate for that reason. I just probably wanted to understand that a little bit further, why there's not a peak rate. And I apologise for not picking it up in the committee meeting.
Yeah, through you, Mr. Chair. So this is really just around consistency with our fees and charges. We have a non-peak and peak charge for our, and essentially that's your tourist accommodation. This accommodation is really for the contractor or aimed at that market, which really doesn't have a peak and non-peak season. So we've just put it in there for consistency. So where there is in the future, if council wants to sort of look at a non-peak and peak, but particularly if there's contractors that can book in and they can know what the costs are when they're budgeting and costing. So yeah, it's really just shown as consistency to have the two figures. But the idea is that if it's aimed at that contractor market, they won't have peak or non-peak seasons like school holidays and that. So it's really just to allow that consistency.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, GM, for the explanation. So we'll go to the vote on the officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council approve the proposed fees and charges for the Contractors Conference Centre accommodation at Bajelki Peterson Dam, and 6 single rooms and shared common area, all linen provided per room, dorm style shared common area, per night, $60 non-peak, $60 peak. This has been moved by Councillor Duff, second by Councillor Henson. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. 14.4, licence to occupy South Burnett Woodcrafters Inc. Presented at the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 14th of July 21 was a report forwarding information regarding licence to occupy South Burnett Woodcrafters Inc. The council enter into a licence to occupy with South Burnett Woodcrafters Inc. for the use of part of Lot 6 FY 1221 and Lot 4 RP 103849 with an expiry of the 31st of January 2022. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council enter a licence to occupy with the South Burnett Woodcrafters Inc. for the use of part of Lot 6 FY 1221 and Lot 4 RP 103849 with an expiry of the 31st of January 2022. Do I have a mover? Councillor Henson, seconder. Councillor Potter. Questions, comments, councillors? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 14.5, licence to occupy Kingrow Junior Cricket. Again, presented at the Community Standing Committee meeting held on the 14th of July was a report forwarding information regarding licence to occupy Kingrow Junior Cricket. The committee recommend to council that the South Burnett Regional Council enter into a licence to occupy with the Kingrow Junior Cricket Association Incorporated for Part A of Lot 89 RP 66068 with conditions including A, term of 3 years at $75 per annum plus GST, B, maintain public liability insurance to the value of $20 million for the period of the licence. The officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council enter a licence to occupy with the Kingrow Junior Cricket Association Incorporated for Part A of Lot 89 RP 66068 with conditions including term of 3 years at $75 per annum plus GST. B, maintain public liability insurance to the value of $20 million for the period of the licence. Do I have a mover, please? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Henson. Comments, questions? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. 14.6, short-term use of 195 Kingroy Street, Kingroy. Offer for lease by way of tender, the shop located at 195 Kingroy Street, Kingroy, Lot 1 on RP 133329. The summary, council purchased the shop located at 195 Kingroy Street, Kingroy. Kingroy Rotary Club recently undertook a short-term occupancy of the shop as an operational base to coordinate hosting the District Rotary Conference at the end of March 2021. Council has also resolved resolution number 2021/1 to allow Baconfest to utilise the facility in August as part of in-kind support. At the conclusion of the Baconfest utilisation, the shop will become vacant. Council has been approached by the Kingroy Chamber of Commerce and Industry Incorporated to utilise the site. The officer's recommendation that South Burnett Regional Council resolves that the exception in Local Government Regulation 2012 Section 2361B(2) applies to Council for the disposal by way of grant of a lease of the valuable non-current asset, which is the land comprising the whole of 195 Kingroy Street, Kingroy RPD, Lot 1 on RP 133329, to Kingroy Chamber of Commerce and Industry Incorporated, KCCI, a community organisation other than by tender or auction, for a term of 24 months commencing on terms to be agreed between Council and KCCI. And number 2, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the lease between Council and KCCI on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers are satisfactory to the Council. Quick financial and resource implications. A previous report was presented to the Community Standing Committee on the 14th of April 21. During this report, Councillor Duff requested information regarding the cost of rental for the current facility the Kingroy Transformation Project team occupy. The current rental is $2,350 per month. To relocate the KTP team, there would be fit-out costs to be considered, and the current facilities has been equipped to cater for the needs of the project over its life. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker. Seconder, Councillor Potter. Okay, open to the floor, councillors, for any comments, questions in regards to this recommendation. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I fully support this recommendation. I think it's very exciting, the work that Kingroy Chamber of Commerce is doing to really support our small business community, and I just cannot congratulate them enough. I think this would be a great use of the facility while council does that work behind the scenes to really understand what we'd like to do with that shop front into the future. And I commend the Kingroy Chamber of Commerce for actually going forward and seeking the funding and looking for these sorts of opportunities that really do support our small business operators in the region. I think there's many exciting things to come from this, and I do think it would be a great opportunity for this council to partner with the Chamber of Commerce. So I'm fully supportive of this recommendation and cannot support it enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Shoemaker. Any other councillors? I'd just like to quickly say that the Kingroy Chamber of Commerce, they're a big supporter of the KTP project, and I think a shop front there in the main street will give them a great opportunity to access and really drive the business community in the Kingroy Business Centre forward. So I fully support this. So no other comments from councillors before I put the officer's recommendation to the vote? Okay, so the officer's recommendation, moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Potter, that 1, the South Burnett Regional Council resolves that the exception in Local Government Regulation 2012 Section 2361B(2) applies to Council for the disposal by way of grant of a lease of the valuable non-current asset, which is the land comprising the whole of 195 Kingroy Street, Kingroy RPD, Lot 1 on RP 133329, to Kingroy Chamber of Commerce and Industry Incorporated, KCCI, a community organisation other than by tender or auction for a term of 24 months commencing on terms to be agreed between Council and the Kingrow Chamber of Commerce. And 2, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the lease between Council and Kingrow Chamber of Commerce on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers are satisfactory to Council. All those in favour? Yep. Unanimous. Thank you. Okay. We now go to agenda item 15, Portfolio Regional Development. And we move on to 15.1, the South Burnett Regional Development Strategy. This was also presented to a standing committee, the Executive and Finance Corporate, on the 21st of July 21. The draft South Burnett 21-26 Regional Development Strategy community consultation and feedback. The committee recommends to Council that the amended draft 21-26 Regional Development Strategy incorporating feedback received be presented to the July Ordinary Council meeting for adoption. The officer's recommendation that the 2021-2026 Regional Development Strategy be adopted. Financial and resource implications, no financial or resource implications known, and linked to the Corporate Operational Plan 21-26 Corporate Plan. Item 1, GR1, develop and implement a well-researched, action-based regional development strategy that supports business and employment growth. And 2, GR4, support and advocate for the development of an expanded and diversified agricultural economy, which may include, for example, regenerative agriculture and Centre for Rural Excellence and Innovation. 2020-21 Operational Plan. It also links up on item GO 1.1, implement the Council's economic development strategy. Communication consultation, internal and external. The following internal and external communication and community engagement has been progressed regarding the draft 21-26 Regional Development Strategy and request for feedback internal. So we've had council workshops, senior executive team meetings, senior management team and staff email external. We've had website media releases, advertising, page 4, South Burnett Today, radio, social media, Facebook, LinkedIn, community e-news, emails to groups, individual workshops, discussions and meetings, and council liaison, government departments, community groups and organisations, and no known legal implications known. So do we have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconder Councillor Potter. I will now open up and to councillors for comment or questions. Councillor Shoemaker.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I just have to say today is a great day because I feel like this long-standing conversation that we've had, we're finally at a point where we can really drive this forward. So I'm enormously excited about this. Certainly going forward, the focus will be on the review of the Wide Bay Burnett Regional Plan, which I understand is underway. And as per the report, it's very important that the South Burnett has a seat at that table and that we're represented in that plan, being that it is, its purpose is to respond to the region's changing economy and projected population increases. So I'm very excited about taking the priorities of our region forward through this plan. This strategy is certainly about, as it's detailed on page 321, building upon our strengths while encouraging further diversity of our economic base and providing a platform for future regional development. For us, this strategy is about ensuring appropriate supporting infrastructure, providing streamlined investment support, and enabling targeted sector investment. And I know with my fellow colleagues, this council and this community, this strategy will continue to evolve. In closing, I just wanted to acknowledge the very wise words from our CEO that you will read on page 3. It's important to recognise that council cannot control everything in this area, but we can focus on what we can control, influence or have an interest in to ensure ongoing improvements in our economy are made possible. I absolutely believe that with this strategy and our continued focus, they will be made possible. So thank you to the team and our community, all of the regional, all of the people across our region who have taken the time out to provide feedback and discuss this with myself and fellow colleagues. I feel it's right for now, but the work is far from done. So just like to say thank you and recommend that council support this strategy, and I look forward to now turning our focus to the regional work plan. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. Any other, councillor Potter?
Yeah, thank you, Councillor, Acting Mayor Jones. I'd actually like to congratulate Councillor Shoemaker on this. I know this is a big day for her. This is something she's worked extremely hard. I've seen her work through the night with regards to this regional development strategy. So between this one and the next one coming up, so I'd just like to congratulate her and the hard work that she herself has put in for this. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's words well spoken there, councillor Potter. Councillor Shoemaker certainly has led the charge here, and as the councillor has alluded to, we now have a document that we, if it is endorsed here very shortly, we now have a document that we can work by, and we can now be a player in the game of regional development. So congratulations, and a lot of work, not only yourself, there's a lot of other staff members and everyone else has gone into it. So we'll now go to the officer's recommendation. That the 2021-2026 Regional Development Strategy be adopted. All that has been moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Unanimous. Congratulations, Councillor Shoemaker. Okay, the work's only just begun now, they tell me. Okay, 15.2 on the agenda, the Regional Development Advisory Committee. This was presented at the Executive Finance and Corporate Standing Committee meeting on the 21st of July 21 to progress the establishment of a Council Advisory Committee for Regional Development. In summary, internal discussions have been undertaken in regard to the establishment of an advisory committee to support Council's regional development initiatives and to assist in the development of the South Burnett Regional Development Strategy. We resolved to leave that the matter lay on the table until the July general meeting. So the officer's recommendation is a procedural tabling motion that the Regional Development Advisory Committee report be taken off the table, that the attached Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference... Okay, my apologies. So we will deal with the procedural tabling motion, that the Regional Development Advisory Committee report be taken off the table. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Fryloff. All those in favour? Unanimous. Okay, so now...
Acting Mayor, if I may, I'll just jump in before we get into the commentary. So the following three, what was picked up at the last meeting, which is lovely, and we've had... well, late's not the right word, but the most recent nomination for American Business Development Association, Melanie, has come in as well for the committee. So we had a conflict last meeting between the number of positions in the terms of reference and the number of people wishing to take up a spot, which is a really nice spot to be in. So there was two options, was either to just expand, drop the number of people who got a Guernsey back to the 7 vacancies. But if people are enthusiastic and want to participate, there was a suggestion, and this is what they're tabled in sequence today. Terms of reference have been amended to add in I'll call it a permanent subcommittee, which would sit, so you would maintain the original terms of reference with the 7 spots. Then all of the business chamber associations would be offered an opportunity, and they're listed in the draft terms of reference or the amended terms of reference as a permanent subcommittee. So you'd be getting that business group and representing their members feeding back in, and then the committee would be of a range of different parties from across the region as presented. So the key one is the terms of reference to be moved. So if each of these can be dealt with separately and in sequence, because if the terms of reference are adopted as amended, or if the terms of reference are adopted or kept as they were, so if you adopt the terms of reference, that resolution gets passed. If you don't want to change it and leave it as it was, well then just defeat that and then status quo remains. then we would have to have a look at the committee membership as to, because you'll have too many people for the 7 spots. Or anyway, yeah, so there would be other alterations. So if we could deal with the terms of reference first, please, Chair, and then we'll go from there. Make sense? Perfect? Mud? No. So,
So I would like to move, if it's all right with you, Acting Mayor, that the attached Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference as amended be adopted.
Thank you, councillor. So councillor Shoemaker has moved that the attached Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference as amended be adopted. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Froeloff. Questions, comments? Councillor Duff.
Just a question. So are the amended terms of reference, does that include now the subcommittee? Is that the change, the amended terms of reference?
I'm happy, and I'll throw to the councillor. So the terms of reference have been added, so it'll be in section 4, which is membership. So it's on page 330 of the agenda. 4.1 is a membership subcommittee. So the rest of the document's been moved to amend to this, but this is the key point. South Burnett Regional Council and the Regional Development Advisory Committee recognises the importance of the chamber and business associations across the region to represent local business and industry issues, to facilitate clear lines of communications with these associations, probably should be a plural. A permanent subcommittee will be established to facilitate discussion with these groups. Council will appoint representatives from the following associations, being the Kingrow Chamber of Commerce, the Maidenwell Community Group, American Business Development Association, Anango Tourism Development Association, Black Butte District Community Organisation, Proston Roundtable, and Wandai Business Networking Group. Then it goes on to talk about when they meet and what have you. So if I have, or if we have missed one anywhere, please let us know.
Thanks, Mr. Yeo. Just to clarify, so with those 7 community groups that you just identified there that you read out, is in the future, if there's something that hasn't been identified there, is there an opportunity for another organisation to put their recommendation forward and then for discussion to be had?
Absolutely the intent, Councillor Jones. Certainly the idea of the subcommittee is to recognise and to have those open and honest communities around conversations around what the business community is seeing, how we can strike collaboration between all of the existing community groups, community business groups and chambers of commerce in our region, and certainly to support and promote and partner in the objectives of the Regional Development Advisory Committee, but also of our regional development strategy. So they bring in valuable support and advice to the table, and this really gives us an opportunity to have a direct conduit of that information into council, and certainly to inform our projects and our focus going forward. So I'm very excited about the opportunity to work with those business groups and to hear them out and see how we can better our region together.
Thank you, councillor, for that explanation. That's very good. So we go to the recommendation that has been moved by councillor Shoemaker, seconded by councillor Froeloff, that the attached Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference as amended be adopted. We go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. We now go to Mr. CEO.
So the second one, and absolutely the councillor, the second part of this now is then to appoint the 7. We have 1 vacancy which we will continue to progress an appointment of, but we have 6 nominations for the main committee, so that's part 2.
So I'd like to move that the South Burnett Regional Council appoint the following individuals who have submitted an expression of interest as members of the Regional Development Advisory Committee as per the Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference. 1, agricultural industry member, brings a wealth of knowledge, Peter Howlett. 2, independent member and our current Citizen of the Year, Catherine Stevens. 3, Hello World Travel, amongst a number of other business interests, Felicity Dascombe. 4, Plenty Foods, Pty Ltd, Josh Tedisky. 5, South Burnett CTC Incorporated, Matthew Kenny. 6, Pacadaringa Feedlot, Lachlan Brown. And 7, to maintain that as a temporary vacancy for this point in time. We'll progress that further as conversations continue. I do have one particular industry I would like to bring to the table with that, but further conversations are needed. And do I need to appoint the? So that I'd like to move that. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. So Councillor Shoemaker has moved that recommendation. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Henson. I'll now ask comments, questions from any councillors. Councillor Duff.
Yeah, just a question to, through you, Deputy Mayor Jones, just to Councillor Shoemaker as to what went out as to particular individuals to submit their expressions of interest. How was that group decided on, like the ones that actually got the invitations to be part of the committee? Was that something that was decided by the industry itself or by you as an individual councillor, or how did we get to that, to where we are now? Thank you.
Happy to answer that. There have been many conversations, Councillor Duff, that have informed this approach, and I do feel for the time being to really drive our region forward. These members will be instrumental. I think they are movers and shakers in their own right. They're heavily invested in our region and they have a genuine interest. And I guess, as I've said many times in this chamber before, the Regional Development Advisory Committee will be very different in the discussions that we had. This is about opening the lid on big ideas, thinking outside the box, and I think you'll agree that all of these people have done that through our community. It's just so wonderful that they have an interest in helping drive the region forward. I'm so excited about working with them, and I think, so in answer to your question, there have been a number of conversations which I have consistently discussed in this chamber over the last 12 months since being nominated, and these are people, certainly I believe, we're very grateful. I'm very grateful that they have shown an interest in being involved, and I believe there will be great things come from our committee moving forward.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Jones, yeah, just my concern is that there's been, like, for example, there's a representative, and I do think they're a good group. However, there's like Smithfield Feedlot, and we've got Pacadaringa Feedlot represented, but Smithfield probably wasn't asked. The tannery, like Mergen Tannery, Scott Caping, that's a big business. Like, I'm just wondering if the actual composition of the of this committee has been really done through a process where you've got the industry has chosen someone, or it's just you've handpicked people that you think are just going to be movers and shakers, but there's nobody on this list from the north western side of our region, and I'm presuming that Councillor Henson would flag some concerns as well. I know it may not just be about geography and where they sit, but it's also, I just think, to be regional. It would be good if we had some representatives from that northwestern end on this particular committee. And I note there's a vacancy, so I'd be urging that vacancy was filled by someone from that side of our region, because I do think we are a region and we need to look right across the whole region. Thank you.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you. I understand your comments and concerns. I do think, and I absolutely agree, we have to think about our entire region, but I think our region is far beyond its geography, Councillor Duff, with all respect. I think this is a great start. Yes, there's a vacancy, and by all means, I'd welcome any ideas or expressions of interest from other members of our community for that vacancy. And certainly, if you've got some ideas, please bring them forward. For me, the intent of this committee has always to bring people like Scott Kaepernick, as you've mentioned, and others in our region, Smithfield, who, thank you to Barb Madden, has dedicated years of support and service to South Burnett Directions and to this community in many ways. So the idea of the committee is to actually bring those people to the table, to committee meetings, and to unpack some of their ideas and thoughts, and to really focus on that shovel-ready pipeline of projects and the areas in which we as a council need to advocate and lean in. As you'll see in the terms of reference, if you've read them carefully, you'll see the aims of the objectives of the committee are very clear, and I think the makeup of the committee is excellent. I think it's a great start, and by all means I'd welcome, I have some ideas for that temporary vacancy, but by all means I welcome your input. And all of my fellow councillors, by all means, you'd be more than welcome to attend a committee meeting and put issues or items or people that you'd like who are progressing regional development priorities or expressing interest to bring those people to the table. That's the full intent. This is not about this is about having open, honest conversations and about bringing everybody in the tent. So if there are people who are interested and want to be involved, they're welcome to come along to a meeting and to share their thoughts and ideas and insights. That's exactly my intent.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not going to support the makeup of this particular advisory committee. Not that don't believe in those people, but I just think that I'm not comfortable with the process that's been adopted. Just certain people hand-picked, not going at the full expression of interest to industry to pick their delegates, and also very concerned about the fact that northwestern end of our region is not represented. And I hear what you're saying about that they can come along, but there's a big difference between coming along and also being actually on the executive of the committee. So, and I don't think there'd be quite the incentive to just come along if you weren't a voting committee member. So just flagging that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor Duff. I'll just go to the other councillors for Councillor Henson, and then we'll come back to Councillor Shoemaker for right of reply and go to the vote.
Jones, I think Councillor Duff, that's a little bit of an insult to not accept or support this when we have, if you read there, people who have submitted an expression of interest as members of the Regional Development Advisory Committee. I know Councillor Shoemaker's done an enormous amount of work in this over a period of time. The people that are represented there, this is a stepping stone in the direction that the Regional Development Advisory Committee can go. Correct me if I'm wrong, but and then if you go to the second paragraph, where the subcommittee individuals have submitted an expression of interest as well. So you have two lists of people there and entities that have submitted interest in this, and yes, it's open to anybody, but as far as hand picking, I have no concerns. In the agricultural industry, Peter Howlett and great representatives. The independent member, Catherine Stevens. We have a wonderful mix. Got a well-travelled Felicity Dascombe, Plenty Foods, South Burnett CDC, Packajaringa Feedlot. Now, Packajaringa Feedlot, I'm sure, would be representing the entire feedlot industry within the South Burnett. They're not just representing themselves. And then you have a temporary vacancy there, and I'm sure there's plenty of room, Councillor Shoemaker, for expansion, and certainly encourage other individuals or business houses to participate and submit an expression of interest. So I'm comfortable with where this sits, and I think it's a great start. So thank you.
Councillor Duff, any more questions? All good. Right of reply, Councillor Shoemaker, and then we'll go to the vote if you want.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Jones. I just can't speak highly enough for this committee and its intentions, and I'm really looking forward to bringing the outcomes of the committee meetings forward for council's consideration. I think we've got a great team here of people who's dedicated to our community and who's passionate about its growth, our region's growth, who are as passionate about our region's growth as I am, and have backed that up with actions and heavy investment. So I'm really looking forward to sharing their thoughts and ideas, and certainly sharing the thoughts and ideas of our broader community at this committee, and channeling those perspective learnings through to council. I think there's so much that we could learn, and so many great opportunities right on our doorstep. So looking forward to getting started with this. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor. So the officers recommend, the motion that has been moved by councillor Shoemaker, seconded by councillor Henson, that the South Burnett Regional Council appoint the following individuals who have submitted an expression of interest as members of the Regional Development Advisory Committee as per the Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference. 1, Agricultural Industry, Peter Howlett. 2, Independent Member, Catherine Stevens. 3, Hello World Travel, Felicity Dascombe. 4, Plenty Foods Proprietary Limited, Josh Gadinsky. 5, South Burnett CTC Incorporated, Matthew Kenny. 6, Packageria Feedlot, Lachlan Brown. And position 7 currently sits as a temporary vacancy. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Councillors Potter, Henson, Froloff, Shoemaker, Jones in favour. Against? Councillor Duff. The officers recommend, or the motion has been passed 5-1. Mr. CEO.
Thanks, Acting Mayor. South Burnett. So this is then the sequence. So terms of reference adopted, gave life to the permanent subcommittee. The appointments of the advisory committee, the appointees to the advisory committee now done. Now it's just to finalise, if council wishes, the permanent subcommittee members. We had 3 responses so far, and the last point of that is that we will go out to those other groups and fill those other vacancies should this resolution be adopted.
Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I'd like to move that South Burnett Regional Council appoint the following individuals who've submitted an expression of interest as members of the Regional Development Advisory Committee Subcommittee, as per the Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference. From the Blackbutt District Community Organisation, Robin Gravel. Nanango Tourism Development Association, Jane Erkins. Mergen Business and Development Association, Melanie Estuar. Further to that, that council issue invitations for representatives from local business associations as per the terms of reference to participate in the subcommittee. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Shoemaker. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Duff. Comments, questions, councillors? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'm very happy with the fact that we've got representation across our region on this particular one, and that they've gone out and all been invited to be involved in it from every different group across our region. So keen to support this subcommittee. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Duff. Any other comments, councillors? So we have in front of us the resolution that has been moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Duff, that the South Burnett Regional Council appoint the following individuals who have submitted an expression of interest as members of the Regional Development Advisory Committee Subcommittee as per the Regional Development Advisory Committee terms of reference. 1, Blackbutt District Community Organisation Incorporated, Robin Gravel. Nanango Tourism Development Association, NATDA, Jane Erkins. And 3, Mergen Business, Melanie Eastor. So we will now go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Mr. CEO, is that the final? We can move on from that. We now move to 16 on the agenda, notices of motion, which we have none. 15.3. It must be the Mayor's chair. Keen to get to the end of it. Okay, 15.3, my apologies, Future Energy Hub. This is tabled at the Executive and Finance and Corporate Standing Committee meeting on the 14th of July 21, Future Energy Hub. That the committee recommends to Council a meeting with Mayor Nev Ferrier, Mayor Otto and Councillor Shoemaker be established with Minister for Energy, Renewables and Hydrogen and Minister for Public Works and Procurement Mick de Brenny be scheduled over the coming months to progress further discussions with him about opportunities to work together, and that Council advises RDA of its desire to be a participant in the subcommittee that is investigating the feasibility of an energy hub in the Wide Bay Burnett. The officer's recommendation that South Burnett Regional Council Chief Executive Officer be authorised to action the following items: a meeting with Mayor Nev Ferrier, Mayor Otto and Councillor Shoemaker be established with Minister for Energy, Renewables and Hydrogen and Minister for Public Works and Procurement Mick de Brenny be scheduled over the coming months to progress further discussions with him about opportunities to work together. And point two, that Council advises RDA of its desire to be a participant in the subcommittee that is investigating the feasibility of an energy hub in the Wide Bay Burnett. Do I have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, seconder. Councillor Potter. Comments, questions, councillors? Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. I can now move on to the item number 16 on the agenda, notices of motion on page 334, which we have none of. Move on to 17 for the information section, also on 334, we have none of. So we now move into confidential section. Do I read those out? Yeah. So, sorry. So the officer's recommendation that Council considers the confidential reports listed below in a meeting closed to the public in accordance with Section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder. Councillor Fryloff, all those in favour? Sorry, Councillor Duff.
I just wanted to ask a question, just so on the 18.6, the Kingrow Transformation Project designed for Glennon Street Shared Community Area. I'm just wondering why that is in confidential.
I'll go. The correspondence from the Commonwealth is sensitive, and so Council asked us to report back at with regards to following up some items, and so it's as per any material that we must maintain is sensitive. So the majority of the report will be able to be presented and open at some point, but the material, the reporting back, it's the document's sensitive to the Commonwealth.
Comfortable with that, councillor? Okay, so we'll go to the vote to move into confidential. All in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Okay, thank you to councillors and staff and anybody that's still with us on live stream. We've just come out of confidential, and I would like to move a procedural motion that item 18.3, management of Kingrow, Wandai and Mergen swimming pools, be brought forward to be addressed prior to the other confidential items on confidential. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Henson, all in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, the management of the Kingrow, Wandai and Mergen swimming pools. The Council is satisfied that pursuant to Section 254J of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the information to be received, discussed or considered in relation to this agenda item is G, negotiations relating to a commercial matter involving the local government for which a public discussion would be likely to prejudice the interests of the local government. Presented at the community... procedural motion, sorry. Okay, sorry. So the officer's recommendation that the procedural tabling motion that the management of Kingrow, Wandai and Mergen swimming pools be taken off the table. Do I have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, seconder. Councillor Duff. All those in favour? Unanimous. So the officer's recommendation is that the South Burnett Regional Council, 1, award tender SBRCQ 2021/21/1 to Summer Country Aquatics for the management of the W.J. Lang Memorial Swimming Pool, Kingrow, as per their tender price. 2, award tender SBRC/2021/21/2 to Belgravia Health and Leisure Group Proprietary Limited for the management of the Mergen Jubilee Swimming Pool as per their tender price. And 3, investigate options for Wandai Swimming Pool and report back to a future council meeting. Do I have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, seconder. Councillor Potter. Any comments, questions before we go to the vote, councillors? Councillor Duff?
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. Just wanted to acknowledge that we're awarding the Mergen swimming pool to Belgravia Health and Leisure Group, and that's I just wanted to pay tribute to Laurie Hall, who has been managing the pool for I think it's 19 years and just done an awesome job managing the community, and just wanted to give her a big shout out. Thank you.
Thanks, councillor, and endorse those comments as well. I had dealings with the said person over a number of years and cannot say enough good things about her, the way she's handled that community. Okay, any other comments from councillors, questions before we go to the vote? So the officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council 1 award tender SBRCQ/2021/21/1 to Summer Country Aquatics for the management of the W.J. Lang Memorial Swimming Pool, Kingrow, as per their tender price. 2, award tender SBRCQ/2021/21/2 to Belgravia Health and Leisure Group Proprietary Limited for the management of the Mergen Jubilee Swimming Pool as per their tender price. And 3, investigate options for Wandai Swimming Pool and report back to a future council meeting. Go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. Can we bring Councillor Shoemaker back in, please? We'll now move back to the initial item, 18.1, in the confidential section. And this is in regards to sale of land for overdue rates and charges. Yep. The officer's recommendation, it's a procedural motion that the sale of land for overdue rates and charges be lifted from the table. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconded. Councillor Henson. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. So the officer's recommendation is that, number 1, pursuant to section 142 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the South Burnett Regional Council resolves to sell the land described below in the schedule for overdue rates and charges, and 2, Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer its power to take all further steps under Chapter 4, Part 12, Division 3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to effect sale of the land, including, for the avoidance of doubt, the power to end sale procedures. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconder. Councillor Henson. Comments, questions, councillors? We spoke about this. Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. Just wanted to say that I think everybody's concerned that it's come to this, but we have no option because we're following the legislative process, and unfortunately that's where we are at. All of the correct procedures has come to pass. It's come to the time where we have to make this really tough decision. I just like to say that I think all the councillors are in agreement that this is not what we're comfortable with, but we have no choice. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Duff, and I would say that you would have unanimous support here in the chamber. This is something that no person, in particular councillors, would wish to force or partake in a decision like this, but you've clearly stated where we're at and what we need to operate under. So, any other questions, comments, councillors, before we go to the vote? So what we have in front of us, excuse me, that the officer's recommendation that the sale of land for overdue rates and charges pursuant to section 142 of the Local Government Regulation 2012, the South Burnett Regional Council resolves to sell the land described below in the schedule for overdue rates and charges, and 2, Council delegate to the Chief Executive Officer its power to take all further steps under Chapter 4, Part 12, Division 3 of the Local Government Regulation 2012 to effect the sale of the land, including, for the avoidance of doubt, the power to end sale procedures. All those in favour? Unanimous. (18.2) Lease agreement between SB Care and the South Burnett Regional Council. This is a proposed lease between South Burnett Regional Council and SB Care Incorporated, and we have a procedural motion, tabling motion that the lease agreement between SB Care and South Burnett Regional Council be taken off the table. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconded. Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Okay, the officer's recommendation that the council enter into a lease agreement with SB Care Incorporated for the use of the Kingrow Town Common Hall, part of Lot 6 SP 274891, located on Oliver Bond Street, Kingrow. Oh, sorry, and we've just had a part 2 added. Council liaise with the current regular users of the Town Common Hall and SB Care to facilitate continued use of the facility or access to potential alternate venues. Do I have a mover?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Jones, I'd like to move that, but I'd like to propose an amendment that would allow the CEO to enter, to delegate the CEO to manage those negotiations. Yep. And I may need some support from CEO Mark or General Manager O'May with that wording, but similar to some of our previous resolutions, that CEO Mark Pitt be delegated to manage the negotiations on behalf of council. With all relevant parties or stakeholders. Does that suffice, CEO Mark? That's fine? Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. I'd like to move that.
Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Just wanted to put another amendment as well, that we put a timeline of 2 years on that agreement with the option.
SB Care.
Yeah, so I guess all councillors comfortable with what we've got there? There's nothing else that you want to add before we ask for a mover and a seconder? Comfortable with that agreement? Okay, so councillor Shoemaker as the mover, are you happy to accept the changes to
Yes.
the amendment?
Yes, thank you.
Do I have a seconder? Councillor Potter? Questions, comments in regarding this? I think we've discussed it. Okay, so the officer's recommendation moved by councillor Shoemaker, seconded by councillor Potter, that one, council enter into a lease agreement with SB Care Incorporated for the use of the Kingrow Town Common Hall, part of Lot 6 SP 274891, located on Oliver Bond Street, Kingrow. 2, council liaise with the current regular users of the Town Common Hall and SB Care to facilitate continued use of the facility or access to potential alternate venues. 3, that an initial lease agreement be for a period of up to 24 months. And 4, South Burnett Regional Council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate, finalise and execute the lease between Council and SB Care Incorporated on terms and conditions the Chief Executive Officer reasonably considers as satisfactory to Council. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thank you. We've dealt with 18.3. We move on now to 18.4, and that is the Development Incentive Scheme cap. And the officer's recommendation, a procedural tabling motion that Development Incentive Scheme cap be taken off the table. Do I have a mover? Councillor Fryloff, second to Councillor Potter. All those in favour? Unanimous, thank you. The officer's recommendation that given the need for affordable rental accommodation for low-income independent seniors and the resultant social and economic benefits of the proposed development at 95 Markwell Street, Kingrow, that South Burnett Regional Council extend the cap on development incentives discount to the full extent of levied infrastructure charges, i.e. 75% discount on all levied infrastructure charges. So do we have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder, Councillor Fryloff. Comments, questions, councillors, before we go to the vote? All good? We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Okay, unanimous. Thank you. 18.5. Oh, sorry, yes, we... where are we? That given the scale of... Is that it? Okay, so there is an extra bit there that we need to deal with, councillors, that given the scale of the proposed development at 95 Markwell Street, Kingrow, and potential economy of scale savings in assessing plumbing approvals for the development, that council delegates to the Chief Executive Officer the power to negotiate a discounted plumbing application fee. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder, Councillor Duff. Questions, comments regarding... No, we go to the vote. All those in favour? Passed unanimous. Thank you. Now we can go to 18.5. And the offer to purchase part of Lot 1 or part of 1 Pound Street, Kingrow, and offer to lease 15 Banksia Drive, Kingrow. Procedural tabling motion that the offer to purchase part of 1 Pound Street, Kingrow, and offer to lease 15 Banksia Drive, Kingrow, be taken off the table. Do I have a mover? Councillor Shoemaker, seconder, Councillor Henchen. All those in favour? That's a yes, Councillor Duff. I didn't... Yep, unanimous. Thank you. So the officer's recommendation that the South Burnett Regional Council note the offer to purchase part of 1 Pound Street, Kingrow, and the offer to lease 15 Banksia Drive, Kingrow, and advise the submitter, 1, that council is currently undertaking a most appropriate use assessment of 1 Pound Street, Kingrow. Subsequently, council is not prepared to consider the disposal of this parcel at this time, and that once a preferred land use is identified, the potential disposal of the allotment will be considered. And 2, that council decline the offer for a lease of 15 Banksia Drive, Kingrow. Do I have a mover? Councillor Potter, seconder, Councillor Fryloff. Comments, questions before we go to the vote? All good, we'll go to the vote. All in favour? Unanimous, thank you. Move on to 18.6, Kingrow Transformation Project Design for Glendon Street Shared Community Area. And the officer's recommendation that council release the designs for the Glendon Street Shared Community Area, Rail Trailhead and Bank Gallery to the community for feedback in accordance with the public consultation methodology within the report. Yep, do we have a mover?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Jones, I'd like to move that and I'd like to add a section to that recommendation. Following after methodology within the report, next dot point down, that council reaffirms to construct the Kingrow Transformation Project in accordance with the original Building Better Region funding grant proposal, Building Better Regions Fund grant proposal. The in principle design and that council does not seek a request for variation to deliver on the activities described in the grant agreement. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones.
Thank you, Councillor Shoemaker. Do we have a seconder? Councillor Potter. Questions, comments before we go to the vote, councillors? Councillor Duff.
Thank you, Acting Mayor Jones. Yeah, I can't support the recommendation as is, because I think that there's, if we go out to consultation, we need to listen to the community. There may be massive pushback and we might need to reconsider. And so I will, and I know that already I've got like the bus company and they're not happy with the design. And so I think that it's, yeah, I'm absolutely 100% supportive of community consultation, but not locking them into no changes. And if there needs to be drastic changes, it needs to be looked at. So I won't be supporting the recommendation. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Shoemaker.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Jones. Certainly, the intent is by all means to listen to the community and to provide them with an update of the plans for the Glendon Street shared space now that they are complete. I think there are some artistic components and elements of the plans where community feedback is very much sought, and I know we have a real interest in supporting and acknowledging our incredible Waka Waka country and the Indigenous relationships and stories of the land in which we are meeting today. And so I'm really looking forward to the ongoing conversations about this project. The reason for my amendment is I'm very mindful of the reasons why we were granted the funds, the Commonwealth funds, to proceed with this project. And I do believe in moving forward that we need to be true to those original intentions of the project, which really is about social inclusion, supporting our local economy and reactivating the CBD here in Kingrow. So very much looking forward to a comprehensive consultation process with Councillor Potter and my colleagues over this next couple of months while we share the designs with our community. Really looking forward to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Any other comments, questions from councillors before we go to the vote? Councillor Duff.
Sorry, just one more. already, I know that General Manager O'May has said that there is scope for adding additional car parks if necessary, if that's community feedback. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, through Mr. Mayor, no, Mr. Acting Deputy Mayor. We'll look at the feedback in line with the resolution. So if there's a change to the configuration, council, by that resolution, is essentially adopting the in-principle design that was put through to council back in November. So largely the shape and the features won't change. This will be really largely in the feedback of layout of car parking. One of the key ones we're looking for is if there's an additional green zones required there for some of the people who might use the parking within Glennon Street. And we'll be looking for feedback around those elements of the design of the landscape and hardscape, essentially. So that we'll look at each feedback on its merit when it comes and how it applies.
Thanks, GM. Happy with that, Councillor? Okay, if there's no more comments, we'll go to the officer's recommendation, moved by Councillor Shoemaker, seconded by Councillor Potter, that council release the designs for the Glendon Street shared community area, rail trailhead and bank gallery to the community for feedback in accordance with the public consultation methodology within the report. And 2, council reaffirms to construct the Kingrow Transformation Project in accordance with the original Building Better Regions BBRF fund grant proposal in principle design, and that council does not seek a request for variation to deliver on the activities described in the grant agreement. We'll go to the vote. All those in favour? Councillors Potter, Henson, Froloff, Shoemaker, Jones in favour. Against? Councillor Duff. The recommendation is carried 5 votes to 1. That concludes the activities and discussions through our confidential section, and it brings us to the closure of the meeting and I'll declare the meeting closed at 1:32 p.m. And I would like to thank all councillors and staff for your cooperation, and we had a big agenda and we got through it very good. So good discussions, and thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week.